are suing the father of her children, Mac Barrett, for stealing her minivan and totaling it while driving drunk.
Quiet in the courtroom. Yeah, this is case number 391 on the calendar in the matter of Ham versus Barrett. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated.
Your last name is?
Ham.
Mr. Ham, you can have a seat, please, because you have no personal knowledge of this, even though you co-signed for your daughter for a loan on this car that's still being paid off. But she knows what's going on here. You may be impacted, but you have no first-hand knowledge. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Ham, this used to be your boyfriend.
That's right.
And you have 2 children together.
That's correct.
Your last child with him was born in 2004.
That's right.
It is your claim that he took your car without permission on the day that your last child was born, and he wrecked it.
That's right.
You want him to pay for the damage to the car because your father co-signed for the car. You're still paying off the car. The car was totaled. Is that correct?
Right, that's correct.
And the insurance company disclaimed because he did not have a driver's license.
That's right.
And Mr. Barrett says that you have to really take that up with your insurance company.
Yes.
Insurance company should not have disclaimed. But there are some facts that are sort of interesting. You say he took your car without your permission.
That's right.
I'm not sure I believe that. Not that that's necessarily dispositive of what happens here today, but I like the truth right from the beginning.
Okay.
The 2 of you were living together.
On and off, yes.
You were living together. You had 2 children together. You were living together.
At that time, yes.
All right. And at the time that you went to the hospital, who drove you to the hospital?
Mac.
There we go. So he had your permission to drive your car.
To the hospital.
He had your permission to drive your car.
At that point.
Now, Miss Ham, the day before, he went to work. Is that right?
Yes.
And how did he get to work?
His vehicle, or the vehicle he drove, which was a 95 Escort.
Didn't take your car?
No.
Never took your car?
No.
Is that right, sir?
No.
Of course it's not.
It is correct.
No.
The only 2 times he drove it was when I was in the vehicle with him. He's never taken it ever by himself prior to that day. Ever.
Is that right, Mr. Barrett?
No.
Of course not. When you share a bed together, you share 2 children together, I don't believe, as I said, it's not necessarily dispositive, but I don't like fibbers.
Oh, I'm not fibbing.
I don't like fibbers. But even so, you gave him permission, you gave him the keys to take you to the hospital that day, and he drove your car. Later on, Mr. Barrett decided to take the car out again. Is that right, sir?
Yes.
How did you expect the car to get from the hospital back home?
Well, my dad arranged to watch our children because he was going to stay in the hospital the entire time and drive me home. Me and the baby.
You mean he was going to stay there overnight?
Right, the entire time.
Wasn't going to go out to eat?
He wasn't going to go to work.
He wasn't going to go to work, wasn't going to go to eat,
No.
wasn't going to, so he took it. Also, don't believe that.
Well, I'm sorry, that's the point. He left me there without a car seat for my child.
Listen to me. The only problem that I have with your testimony, Miss Ham, is that I don't like when you start out not telling me the truth. And the truth is, he took the car to the hospital, he drove you to the hospital, he had your permission to take the car, he had the keys to the car with your permission, and then he took the car out again. What happened after that is his fault. But don't start out telling a judge not the whole truth, because then we begin to hold suspect everything that you say. Do you understand?
I understand.
Good. I understand that you want your money. Lying is not the way to get it.
I don't feel that I'm lying.
Well, you are. Because he had permission to drive your car, and your complaint said he had no permission. He had your permission to drive the car, and it wasn't limited to just taking you to the hospital, because when you're in labor going to the hospital, you didn't say to him, you only have permission to drive me to the hospital and drop me off there. You may not take the car out again for any other, because that doesn't work. Not when you're going to deliver a baby.
He's lying when he says he's drove my van. He never has.
I don't
he had
believe
a
that.
95 Escort that he drove.
I don't believe it. I don't believe that during the time you had the car, he didn't need the car once in a while when his car wasn't working, when his car was in repair. He drove your car, he drove you and your child in the car out for other things. When was your license suspended, sir?
8 days prior.
What was it suspended for?
A previous accident that someone had sued me, and I didn't realize that if you didn't pay a debt that was involved in an accident, it was like $500 that they could take your license in our state.
And how were you notified that they took your license?
By mail.
Who opened the mail?
I believe I did.
Did you tell Miss Ham that your license was suspended?
Yes, she knew.
No, that's not what I asked you. I said, did you tell her?
Yes, I told her.
Okay, so at the time she gave you the keys to the car to drive you to the hospital, according to you, she knew that your license was suspended.
Yes, we was trying to figure out, because I was calling from the hospital trying to figure out why they were suspended, because I still wasn't for sure why.
Okay. Now we get to what's your fault. So you took her to the hospital, your baby was born. When did you decide to go drinking?
After I left work.
The next day?
No, we was at the hospital all day, and I left from the hospital. I was there all that day, and then I left from the hospital to go to work that evening.
Had the baby been born yet?
Yes.
Did you say goodbye to her?
Oh, yeah.
Right. And you only had one car at the hospital?
Yes.
Said goodbye, you looked at the baby, played coochie-coo?
Yes.
So after work, instead of going back to the hospital, you decided to go get drunk. And you got drunk, and you drove the car, and you were in an accident?
Yes.
And you spent the next 18 months in jail?
Yes.
So that answers my next question, which is why it took so long for you to get here to file your claim. But do you understand what I mean, Miss Ham, when you start out by telling a fib?
I mean, I understand.
You
I
understand? Good. So he went to work. There's no question in my mind that he stayed with you in the hospital till the baby was born, and then he came to say goodbye, that he was going out, that he said goodbye to you, so you knew he wasn't going out by foot. You knew he was taking the car. Got it?
Yes.
Perfect.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She didn't get you down on the floor before you left the hospital and open up your mouth, hold your nose, and pour down a bottle of Grey Goose down your throat, did she?
I prefer Absolute, but no.
And later today,
Are you both nuts? Are you really both crazy? It would never dawn on me over this kind of thing to sue a child.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kimberly Ham says the father of her children, Mac Barrett, had no driver's license when he stole her minivan and crashed it. Mac claims Kimberly gave him permission to drive it.
Now, I want you to show me proof that the insurance company disclaimed on this claim when he totaled the car. They disclaimed on the ground that you didn't have a valid driver's license.
Also, when I got home from the hospital, I had to stay at my dad's for a day because he had the only set of keys, which were mine, that had our apartment key on there, and I couldn't get into our apartment. And then I checked the mail. That's when I found the suspended license validation in the mail.
So the insurance company declined coverage, and the policyholder was you.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, your own insurance company declined your policy, sir, on the car that's in her name.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Car has to be in both your names in order for you to have an insurable interest in it. Can I see the title to the car, please?
We don't have the title. It's not paid off. I'm still making payments on it and not being able to drive it.
I'm just surprised that the insurance company allowed him to insure the car if he had no insurable interest in the car. I'm going back to my Insurance 101 in law school. Okay. Now, Mr. Barrett.
Yes.
You want to explain to me why you think that you have no responsibility with regard to this car that she's still paying off that cost $17,000?
Well, for one, I mean, I had permission to drive the vehicle.
You did. I find that you had permission to drive the vehicle. And I find that she had knowledge of the fact that you didn't have a driver's license. Neither one of those things contributed to your accident.
Okay.
You agree with that?
No.
Well, let me ask you this question, sir. Did the fact that you had a suspended driver's license cause you to have an accident?
No.
What caused you to have an accident?
Drinking.
Right. Now, she didn't get you down on the floor before you left the hospital and open up your mouth, hold your nose, and pour down a bottle of Grey Goose down your throat, did she?
I prefer Absolute, but no.
Absolute. Cute, but no cigar. She didn't do that to you, did you? You did that all by yourself.
Yes.
And that was the proximate cause of your accident. Your drinking. Not the fact that you had a suspended driver's license. You didn't have an accident, so driving her to the hospital, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So what's the proximate cause of your accident? What did the law find, sir?
Drinking and driving.
That's it. Beyond a reasonable doubt, for which you spent 18 long months in jail because it wasn't your first one. Couldn't have been your first one. Some judge was good and fed up with you. How many DUIs had you had?
One prior.
How much injury was caused to the other side and the one that you had back in 2004?
I'm not exactly for sure. They was injured.
And they weren't injured because you had a suspended driver's license, were they?
No.
They were injured because you were drunk.
Yeah.
Do you see your children?
Yes.
How often?
Every other weekend.
Do you support them?
Yes.
How much?
$140 a week.
How much do you earn?
I bring home $342 a week.
Have you made any effort to help Miss Ham and her father with regard to this debt that they incurred because of you?
No, they won't even let me see the van. I haven't even seen it. When I asked to see the van, she said it was on private property.
You have the bill to have it fixed?
It's totaled.
Can I see it?
Yes. I have pictures and then
You have a statement that indicates it's totaled?
Yes, I have the vehicle pricing and the estimate where it was done. My dad took care of that, so if you have any questions, he's the one that took care of the estimate.
Just show this to him, would you please? How many other cars did you hit?
Just one.
Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm pleased that he'll have to pay for the damage that he caused to the van.
What can I say?
I've had to pay on the van for the last 2 years and not be able to drive it.
Didn't feel, that I was fully responsible, so whatever. She's going to decide what she wants to decide.
She basically owes $12,000 on the van that she'll continue to pay on, and Mr. Barrett will have nothing. He'll have no responsibility.
I mean, it bothers me a little bit, but what can you do?
I would just like to move on from this, and hopefully Mr. Barrett can do the proper thing in the future and take care of his children.
We'll work out with the children.
Oh, our kids will be perfect.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of X-Line versus Pace. Step forward.
Laurel X-Line is suing her son, 21-year-old Derek Pace, for damaging her four-wheeler. Derek claims the damage occurred due to mechanical failure.
Miss X-Line, the defendant is your son.
Yes, ma'am.
And your lawsuit claims that he came out for a visit. You live in where?
Show Low, Arizona.
And you come from?
Texas, Del Rio.
So he traveled from Texas to Arizona for a visit.
Yes, ma'am.
And when he got there, he rode a four-wheeler.
Yes, ma'am.
That you bought, and it is your claim that he broke it. You want him to pay to have it fixed.
Yes, ma'am.
Your son says that he didn't break it. It was already broken, he thinks. But certainly he didn't break it. And he's counterclaiming because he says he was so uncomfortable and it was so tense after he had this accident on the four-wheeler that he went home, and he wants you to pay the expenses for his travel round trip because he didn't have a good time, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you both nuts? Are you really both crazy?
No, ma'am, it's more about responsibility and respect. I mean, when they came back with the four-wheeler, I have MS, and I was diagnosed 3 years ago, and that four-wheeler is my lifeline. I use that four-wheeler for everything. I use it to feed my horse. I use it to water my horse.
Then you shouldn't have let him ride it. Miss X-Line, how many children do you have?
One.
You have one child that
Yes.
you're suing? I mean, I quite frankly, I don't get it. I mean, my children have taken my cars and had accidents. I had a story once, Miss X-Line. One of my children, after the car went over an embankment into a little ditch, tried to tell me that the earth opened up because of severe rain. And that's how the car slid down the side of the road. You know that child. It didn't work. I mean, the story didn't work, but I didn't sue him. I mean, I used that car to get to work, and I really needed it as my lifeline. But it would never dawn on me over this kind of thing to sue a child.
I think it was all the attitude that was taken when it happened, like that it was nothing. It was not his fault. It was not his responsibility. Why was I crying? It was
He
just
said
a
it
big.
wasn't his fault.
Right.
He didn't say it wasn't his responsibility. He said it wasn't his fault. That
Well,
he
he
didn't
didn't
do
feel like
anything-
it was his responsibility either.
Because he says in his answer that he didn't do anything to cause the damage to the four-wheeler.
Well, I have photos here of when they took off on the four-wheeler the day they took off, and I have photos of when it was taken off to the repair shop.
Well, of course, because there was an accident with it, but he said he didn't cause the accident. The accident happened as a result of a mechanical defect.
Well, I think you can look at the pictures and it will tell the story.
I don't think it's going to tell the story, madam, but I want your son to tell me what happened when you took out the four-wheeler.
Well, we took it out. We got there the night previously, and the next morning we woke up and she told us that she wanted to take her four-wheeler out and take it up in the mountains, go see the snow and all that kind of stuff. So we took it out, and we realized we were kind of running out of gas. We were trying to find the road because we'd lost our way on the way back through the mountains. And then I realized that the back wheel was you could feel the back end of the four-wheeler sliding. And I stopped to look at it, and the back wheel, the axle had broken off, and the wheel was messed up.
Is it possible that you went over a rock? Is that possible?
It's possible.
Possible you went over a log?
Possible.
Is it possible that as a result of doing that, the axle broke? It's possible.
Possible.
Sure, a lot of things are possible.
If I borrowed your car, I would fix it if I tore it up.
Well, if I borrowed your car and through no fault of my own that I knew about, that I was aware of, something happened mechanically and I was in an accident and I was injured, I would sue you. And you better have insurance on that car. So unless you have, Miss X-Line, some proof, and that would have to be by virtue of someone who was an expert in four-wheelers, that something that this young man did caused that damage.
I have a statement.
I don't take statements.
I have the photos of before and after.
I'll take a look at the photos.
This is them when they were starting out on their journey. And then that was after it was damaged. He has entirely his whole life, he's the only child, and I did not pursue my career. I was in the military for 8 years, and I did not pursue my career when I got out of the military to be at home with him and spend time with him and to be a good mother. And he was in private schools. He had the best of everything, and I think that it's time that he takes responsibility for his actions.
Miss X-Line, you don't get payback from children for doing the right thing. That's what you're supposed to do as a mother. You're supposed to sacrifice and make sure that your children have things that you didn't have, and make sure that they have a better education than you had. And if it involved you staying home, not having a career, that doesn't necessarily make you a better mother than somebody who works, has a career, and tries to be a good mother at the same time. So you don't get payback for whatever sacrifices you think you made for your children. I certainly would never, and certainly under these circumstances where I have no proof that this was caused by something other than a defect in the four-wheeler that happened serendipitously at the time that he drove it. And it may have been that they went over a rock, but certainly they didn't purposely do anything. He doesn't look like a nut, do anything to put themselves and his wife in harm's way. I don't know what your problem is, but I'm speaking. But your problem should not be resolved in a court. Now, Mr. Pace, if you weren't having a good time at your mother's house, you had several options. You could leave, or you could not leave. You also don't bring that sort of nonsense to a court. Courts are very busy. Certain things have to be left to be resolved within a family. This is one of them. Your case is dismissed. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step.
Marcia Lambert is suing her mother's neighbor, Tammy Kedward, for vandalizing her car and punching her in the nose. Tammy claims Marcia was having an affair with her husband.
All rise. Now, this is case number 428 on the calendar in the matter of Lambert versus Kedward. All right, you're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat, please.
Miss Lambert, you were having a romantic relationship with the defendant's husband.
Yes, Your Honor.
I assume this was the husband.
Yes, Your Honor.
This was about a year ago?
A little over a year, yes, ma'am.
Miss Kedward lost it with you one day, came to where you were staying, and assaulted you.
Yes, Your Honor.
She admits that she assaulted you. She also admits that she pled guilty to a simple assault, and she received a fine. Her defense to your action for damages for both your medical bills and your pain and suffering is that you weren't injured. She is counterclaiming for her medical bills, she says, because you've caused her a lot of stress. When did you meet Miss Kedward's husband?
About July 9th of 2005.
Where?
At my mother's house.
What relationship does he have with your mother?
They're the next-door neighbors to my mom.
Were they both living together at the time?
Yes, they were.
Well, when did you start a relationship with Mr. Kedward?
After he told me that he had asked Tammy for a divorce.
But they were still together?
Sort of, kind of.
They were still living under the same roof?
They were living, yes.
Big mistake on your part. Big. When did you start the relationship?
What exact date?
Yeah.
That it turned romantic?
Yes.
Was August 28th of 2005.
So it didn't take long. Now, when did Miss Kedward assault you?
On August 31st.
Tell me about it.
I was over visiting my mother. My car was parked in the back driveway. She came over and spray painted my car with some obscenities and bright orange paint. I saw her do it. We went back inside to call the police. She knocked on the front door, asked me to come outside. My mother came outside with me. She was yelling all kinds of profanities. And
that's not true.
And I was standing between her and my mother tried to explain some stuff to her, and I was looking at my mother. She reached over, grabbed the back of my hair, yanked me on the ground. She jumped on top of me, punched me, blood went everywhere. Meanwhile,
punched you where?
In the nose, and then punched me again in the cheek. Meanwhile, my mother managed to pull her off of me, and my 82-year-old grandmother was standing on the porch calling the police.
And you were arrested?
No.
Taken into custody?
No.
Did you press charges?
Yes, I did.
Okay, Ms. Kedward, why don't you tell me what happened on the 31st of August?
I drove up from work. I got out of the car, and she came out of her mother's house and said
That is a
something.
lie, Your Honor.
Listen to me. I cut her off when she interrupted you. Don't speak until she's finished. Go ahead.
I got out of the car, and she came out of the front door and said something that I didn't understand what it was that she said. Nevertheless, she said something. And I just went inside, and I called my husband, told my husband that she was saying something to me.
But you didn't know what?
I didn't know what. It was
Well,
something.
why would you, just a second, Ms. Kedward, why would you call your husband if she said something that you didn't understand?
Because I had found out 3 days prior that there was something going on between them.
Okay, did you confront your husband with it?
Yes.
And what did he tell you?
He told me the truth. He told me that they were having a relationship, but that it was more as a friend relationship, that he didn't say that it was not intimate. He just told me that basically they had been doing a lot of talking on the phone.
So when you came home on the 31st and you claimed Miss Lampert said something to you, called your husband, and your husband said what?
He said, look, I don't know what's going on. Why don't you just go over there and talk to her about it, and y'all figure it out, and then you call me.
Is that
and
what
tell
you
me
said
the
to her?
truth."
Why don't you just go over there and ask her? Just that's either a yes or no.
Yes.
That was the first time that I ever thought of going over there.
So your cheating husband tells you to go over to the woman's house and to talk it out with her.
Yes.
And you'd listen to him.
Well, it's not that I listened to him. It's more that I thought, go over there. Sounds like a great idea. Why don't I just go over there and find out exactly what she said? And it was probably not the greatest decision in the world, but
Well, first
it
thing that you
happened.
did, you went over and you sprayed her car because that you paid for, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you painted her car before you went to ask her
Correct.
what she had said that you didn't hear.
Right.
And then what happened?
I went over and
You sprayed her car.
I sprayed her car, went back inside and...
Back inside where?
My house.
What happened to speaking to her and about finding out what happened?
That was after.
So then you came out again, worked up a really good mad.
I was infuriated, to say the least.
Fine. So you came
I
out.
had asked her numerous times, very nicely, please leave my husband alone.
Why didn't you ask him?
I asked him.
So,
but
and
the
what did he
fact
say?
She was the instigator.
Stand up. How tall are you?
6'3",
How much do you weigh?
260,
What do you do for a living?
mechanic.
Strong?
I guess so.
Can you walk around?
Yes.
You can walk away from her, can't you?
Yes, ma'am.
Sit down. Get what I mean? Shh. Get what
Yes,
I mean?
ma'am, I do. And
Yeah, listen. There's only one person that owes you the responsibility and the respect and has taken a vow.
You're exactly right.
That's him,
You're right.
not her.
I felt like if she had any compassion or any feeling that she would have backed off and she would have had respect, at least for my child.
He's
And
supposed to have respect for your child,
I understand that.
not her. He.
I truly believe that he did make a bad decision.
Right. But
She
so why
was
did you
the
go
one-
over? So you went over there, you assaulted her, and you lost it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, then you have to suffer for that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You say I'm strong physically. What about mentally when you have a woman like this calling you all the time and not leaving you alone?
You don't really want an answer to that question, sir.
And later today,
You have a car now, Miss Ensler?
Do I have a car?
That's my question. Do you have a car now?
Yes, I have a car now.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Marcia Lambert claims her mother's neighbor, Tammy Kedward, owes for spray painting vulgarities onto her car and punching her in the face. Tammy claims Marcia was sleeping with her husband. She is countersuing for emotional distress.
Okay, Miss Kedward, what kind of consequence did the criminal justice system impose when you pled guilty to assault?
I had a fine of $341 and a Class C misdemeanor.
Tell me about the surgery that you had 3 months later.
I had actually 2 surgeries to try to correct. I was having trouble breathing through the right side of my nose.
Can I
Can
see
I
the
add
medical report?
something,
Yes,
Your
ma'am.
Honor?
Yeah.
She told my husband, he asked her the next day after the assault, "Are you okay?" And she told him, "It's no big deal. The same thing happened to me about a year ago when a girl hit me in a bar."
Okay.
That's a lie, Your Honor.
Just a second. Let's say that's true. What difference it make?
So what's to say if she had any surgeries that it wasn't to correct what had
I don't know what
happened
she
then?
wants.
It's possible it was. That doesn't leave
I'm
you.
not sure
That doesn't.
exactly what she
Shh,
wants.
quiet. That doesn't let you off the hook.
I understand.
She doesn't have to sue for any medical expenses. She can just sue for pain and suffering.
I understand.
Good. Okay, so the first study date in the emergency room was September 1st, and it did say previous surgical changes are noted. Okay, so you had previous surgeries in your nose. Is that right?
From 92.
Okay, good. Now, after this happened on August 31st, did you continue a relationship with Mr. Kedward?
Yes, I did.
For how long?
It actually ended August 1st of 2006.
I don't think that's true, Your
Yeah,
Honor.
that's a bunch of bull.
No, you were at my mother's house.
Shh, listen to me. Whether it lasted 9 months or 10 months or 12 months, it doesn't make any difference. It lasted beyond that. Was Mr. Kedward living with his wife during that time?
He went back to her the end of November of 2005.
Okay, but you continued the relationship
Right.
with him
Right.
months after that.
Right.
Not smart. What was he telling you all this time?
Just that he wasn't sure what he wanted and that they had a lot to work out if it was going to work and that he still loved me and he always would.
Well, Miss Lambert, why did you continue the relationship with him, madam?
It's not the first time she's done this. I'm sorry.
Takes 2 to tango.
Yes, ma'am.
His feet work in both directions. If he's back with you and sweet-talking her, that's not a good
thing
thing.
about it is, Your Honor, you say I'm strong physically. I'm assuming that's what you're asking. You know, what about mentally when you have a woman like this calling you all the time and not leaving you alone? Yay. Hey.
You don't really want an answer to that question, sir.
Well.
You don't want an answer to that question, Mr. Kedward.
When I asked Miss Lambert to leave my husband alone, my words to her were, "For God's sakes, Marcia, I live next door to your mother. Please just stop."
She used very bad judgment.
She told me that she would be living next door to her mother.
Miss Kedward.
That's a lie.
She used very bad judgment, especially after he came home in November.
He never
To live with
really
you.
left home.
Don't tell me he never really left home. Stop moving around. You're making me seasick. Still,
Yes, ma'am.
he exercised very bad judgment. What he's trying to tell me is he may be strong physically, but mentally he's mush. That's just an excuse. What he's trying to say is, how can I withstand the wiles of Jezebel? That's ridiculous. If you bought it,
that was not what I
quiet.
was saying.
Quiet. There are all kinds of temptations in this world, madam, and you hope that when you marry somebody that they're going to be able to withstand the temptations. And if they can't, it's their fault. It's not somebody else's fault. In any event, she's suing you for $4,000.
Yes, ma'am.
That, she said, represents her medical bills. You are clearly responsible for that. I want to hear about your counterclaim. You have 1 minute.
I went to the hospital that night and was in the hospital for 2 days following. I was extremely stressed out over the whole situation. I asked her repeatedly to leave my husband alone. She told me she would do what she wanted to do when she wanted to do it. And I lost it. And I have to admit that
I'm talking about your
I
counterclaim.
went to the hospital and I was there for 2 days because of the immense stress that this, I don't even want to call her a woman, has put me through, that she continues to put me through to
What
this
about
day.
him? Why don't you sue him?
I married him for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in front of God, in front of all of our friends. And it's my choice to forgive him, and we have been through counseling.
Perfect. Listen to me. He's the one that owes you the responsibility of
And
doing
he's
the right
paid
thing.
me.
Doesn't she owe us to leave us alone?
I have.
Bull.
Excuse me?
Excuse me? Outside. Put him out.
Come on, man.
Okay.
Can I add one
gonna,
thing?
Yeah, sure.
I was under so much stress from the immoral actions of this person that I suffered a miscarriage. My child has had to be in counseling. I have had a lot of issues because of her, and to this day.
Because of them.
Yes, ma'am.
Because of them.
She instigated it.
Because You don't get it. You have to put it in your head. He owes you the responsibility of doing the right thing. She doesn't. He has a contract with you, moral contract and a legal contract. He violated the contract. And I would have very little sense of an obligation to mitigate your damages if Miss Lampert did not continue the relationship after November, when she knew that the two of you were trying to work things out. Miss Lampert fully understood that. From November until, she says, August of 2006, she continued a relationship with him. That's going to hurt you, Miss Lampert, because then you knew that what you were doing was interfering with a relationship, and there is a cause of action. It's a cause of action in common law called alienation of affection. That means you are contributing to alienating the affection of her husband, and you know what that's going to cost you? $4,000. So I rule in your favor on your lawsuit in the amount of $4,000. And I rule in your favor on the counterclaim in the amount of $4,000. Neither one of you are getting anything. That's it. Goodbye.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
My husband was at fault for what he did.
I was too gullible to understand and see it then.
I can't help the fact that she went totally psycho.
She continued to try to alienate our marriage.
No, he continued to see me. On August 1st of 2006, he came to my mother's house at lunchtime, and we had a luncheon.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Mooney versus Enslin. Step forward, please.
Ian Mooney is suing his ex-girlfriend, Erin Enslin, for money owed on a lease for a Mitsubishi Eclipse. Erin says the lease is Ian's responsibility.
Mr. Mooney, this is your former girlfriend. You leased a car together. You got another car. Miss Enslin said that she would take over the lease payments on the car. She did. You broke up. She took the car with her. She drove the car for a considerable period of time. The lease was about to be up. The payoff was too much. She said, you can have the car back. I don't want it. You were forced to pay the payout on the lease, which, according to your complaint, was about $5,000. Miss Enslin says it was your car. It's your problem. That's your defense.
Yes.
When was the car leased?
October 6th of 2001, and it was leased by myself and Erin.
Okay, and how long did you drive the car together?
Until, I believe, February of 2004. Erin had found employment, and basically we agreed that I would get another car in my name, and Erin would take over the Eclipse and make the payments.
And you did that?
Yes.
For how long?
The lease was up 2006, October. I called him a few times a couple months before saying that I couldn't afford the car. It was really breaking me. So obviously there was no way I was going to be able to pay it off, and he just refused to take it off of me.
Well, but you had an agreement with him, Miss Enslin.
Yeah, as long as I'm driving the car, I'll pay for it. There were times where I called him and said, I don't want it. I don't want to drive it. It was never discussed of bringing back the lease and me paying it off.
Well, what did you expect to happen?
I'm not even on the lease.
Miss Enslin.
I'm a co-signer for the loan.
Correct.
I'm not on the title of the car. It's
but
not
you
my
are
car.
co-signer on the loan, right?
Right.
Okay. Now, you had this car in total how long, sir?
The full lease, 5 years between the two of us. Erin had said that she had no intention of keeping the car, yet I
believe she had intention of keeping the car as long as it was just like a lease. I'm speaking, Mr. Mooney. I believe that she had the intention of keeping the car and paying for it until it was no longer advantageous for her. You have a car now, Miss Enslin?
Do I have a car?
That's my question. Do you have a car now?
Yes, I have a car now.
What kind of car do you have?
I have a Dodge Spirit.
What year?
94.
Where did you get it from?
My parents.
Your parents gave it to you as a gift?
Yes.
When did they give it to you as a gift?
October of this year, last year.
So at about the same time that you said, I can't afford these payments anymore?
At the same time the lease was up for his car.
The same time the lease was up on a car on which you were a co-signatory?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Can I please see the payout?
This didn't become an issue until there was damage to the car, and basically she'd gone over on the mileage.
How was the car damaged? Miss Enslin, you don't know. How was the car damaged?
There was a scrape on the side of the car.
How did it happen?
I hit something with it.
Why didn't you fix it?
Because it happened right before the lease was up. And his girlfriend at the time was actually looking into buying it, and her dad owned a garage, so there was a point where we thought that they were going to fix it and buy it and just take it off of whatever she paid for it.
Who do you live with?
My boyfriend.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm an assistant.
Assistant what?
Assistant to a businessman.
What kind of business?
He's owns a small production company.
You mean theatrical?
No, music.
And what does your boyfriend do, Miss Henslin?
He's a writer.
And what do your parents do?
My mom works in a factory. She's an accountant. And my dad fixes the roads and works for the township.
How old are you, Miss Henslin?
25.
You have to grow up and stop being a baby. If you have a responsibility, you're supposed to take care of the responsibility. You're not supposed to stick somebody else with your responsibilities. You were going to assume the responsibility on the car until you decided it was too expensive a proposition for you to take it over after the lease. So what? You relied on your parents to treat you like a baby and buy you a car so you could get to and from work and not have to take care of this responsibility. You have to grow up, madam. Beauty fades, dumb is forever. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
21-year-old Anne-Marie Fessler is suing her former roommate, 25-year-old James Hill, for stealing money meant for her boyfriend's bail.
All rise. Now, this is case number 406 on the calendar in the matter of Fessler versus Hill.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat, please.
Miss Fessler, this young man is your boyfriend's nephew. Your boyfriend was in jail. Is he still in jail?
Yes.
What is he in jail for?
We had gotten into an argument in a restaurant parking lot, and he hit me, and the cops are called, and he was locked up, and they're holding him for old warrants that he had.
Outstanding warrants for what?
One was a shoplifting charge from 95. One was a drug charge, and something else. I think it has something to do with the drug charge. I'm not exactly sure what.
Do you know what he's in jail for?
Them fighting all the time, and like they're just very dysfunctional. Like,
well, they may be very dysfunctional, but that's not the only reason he's in jail. In any event, it is your claim that you gave him some money to bail out your boyfriend, that he didn't bail out your boyfriend, but he stole your money. And then you think he took some other money from an ATM card. Some convoluted story. In any event, Mr. Hill said, I took $600 to go and bail out my uncle that you did give him. And when he got to the prison to bail him out, it was more than that, so he gave you back your $600. He doesn't know anything about any other stolen money. He says he doesn't know why you would think that he would take property that belongs to you. Okay, Ms. Fessler, when was your boyfriend arrested for domestic violence?
November 24th of 2006.
And when did you call Mr. Hill about giving him money to go bail him out?
I called him and told him what the bail was. He told me to give him the money that I had, and he would see what he can do about getting the rest to go bail him out. I had $700 on me at the time.
Where'd you get $700 from?
Every month I get $400 from the state. They give me I'm on rental assistance and welfare. They gave me $400 every month. We saved $200 every month for the last 3 months.
Just a second. They give you $400 for what?
For my kids from welfare every month.
How many children do you have?
I have 2.
So the state gives you $400 a month to feed and take care of your children. And you save $200.
I was taking $200 out every month for my kids' Christmas, and the other $200 I was using to buy their diapers and stuff every month.
What other money comes into your house?
That's all the money that we have.
No. Impossible.
They were paying...
Impossible.
They were paying our rent.
You, the boyfriend, the 2 children, living on, according to you, $50 a week, because if they send $400 and you're saving $200, that means that the 4 of you are living on $50 a week, unless the boyfriend is selling drugs.
No, they were paying our rent also. We were getting rental assistance, too, from welfare. They were also paying our rent, and that was $800 a month that they were paying for us.
So they're paying rent. That still leaves you $50 a week to feed.
We were also receiving food stamps from them, too. We were getting $500 in food stamps, too.
So were you selling those?
No.
What were you doing with them?
Buying food and formula for my son and my daughter.
And what was the boyfriend doing?
He was trying to find a job.
When was the last time he actually found a job?
In the summertime.
Doing what?
He was working for a trucking company.
And what happened to that job?
He lost his job because he was late too many days.
Why was he late?
Because I was sick, I was pregnant, so he was staying home to help take care of me and my daughter while I was pregnant with my son.
But you had been receiving welfare for a long time, right?
Yes.
So why wasn't he working and getting you off welfare before you got pregnant with the last baby?
We were having a lot of problems. They were trying to help us out with everything that we could. We were moving back and forth from place to place. We were having problems with my first landlord.
Listen, the government wants to give away their money to families who are actually living together. That is something that I am not going to rectify in my lifetime, although I would like to try. What I resent is welfare is supposed to provide people with their basic necessities, not enough money to save. You know, people who earn $25,000, $30,000 a year can't put away $200 a month because they have to use that money to pay for rent, gas, electric, telephone, medical, all kinds of other things, medicines. You know, so even if you're working and working hard and earning a moderate amount of money, you can't save $200 a month. Here, you're saving $200 a month on the taxpayer for Christmas presents. That's ridiculous, if I believed you. So, go ahead. So you had saved $600 so far for Christmas, and you gave him the $600.
I gave him the $600 and told him to go down and to the bail bondsman, and they said that they would take $600 to get him out. I gave him the $600. I couldn't go down there. They said that I had to be at least 23 to sign the papers. I'm not 23, so I couldn't take the money down there and sign it.
How old are you?
I'm 21. So I asked him to take the money down there. He said his sister would co-sign with him. Supposedly they took the money down there. He called me back and told me that the bail bondsman wanted more money, that a charge from New York came up on him. So I went...
He's some Butte. So he's got stuff from where? Where do you live?
Trenton, New Jersey.
So you live in New Jersey? Well, it's not far from New York to New Jersey. He gets around. What happened to the $600, Mr. Hill?
All right, Your Honor. First of all, everything she said is bogus.
Listen to me. I asked you a question.
Yes.
I said,
yes,
what happened to the she gave you $600.
Yes, she
that
did.
you agree with?
Yes, ma'am.
My question is a simple one, Mr. Hill. And I'm getting hungry.
Okay.
You understand? What happened to the $600?
It went right back into her hand, Your Honor.
When?
Right after I tried, my witness here, Miss Irvin, she took me to the police station to bail him out. When they told me it was not enough money, I then returned her $600 plus $155 of my own because she asked for extra money to go help pay the fines off before he can get bailed out. I never even asked her for that money back. The following morning, she tells me the money's missing. Someone's stolen the money. I have nothing to do with that.
She told you that someone stole that $600?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, he got up in the morning and came downstairs and told me that in the middle of the night he found my front door to my apartment standing wide open. He said the apartment got cold, he came down and used the bathroom, and the door was standing open to my apartment. I was going to my room to go see where my money was. My money was gone. He claimed that somebody came in and took the money.
Miss Fessler, you following what I'm saying, madam?
Yeah,
I want
but
you to
I'm
listen
saying
to me very carefully.
what he's saying isn't
I want
true.
you to listen to me very carefully. We're starting with this premise, Miss Fessler, that the money you gave him, the $600, to bail out your boyfriend, right, was money that the government intended for your children. That's what the taxpayers gave you the money for, to feed and clothe your children, not to use for Christmas presents, and certainly not to use to bail out your drug addict boyfriend. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Who do you work for?
I work for National Fidelity. I'm a junior loan officer.
Really?
Yes.
What's the name of your boss?
John.
And later today,
there was police outside, and they said, everybody out of the house, come out with your hands up. And Grover says, now, if they asked you, tell them I didn't change my clothes and I never left the house.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Anne Marie Fessler claims former roommate James Hill stole money earmarked to bail her boyfriend out of jail. James says Anne Marie is making up a story.
Now, it matters not to me, and I'm telling this to you from the bottom of my heart. If he stole that money and used it for, I don't know, bought a whole new outfit, had his hair done, I don't know, whatever he did with the money, right? That to me is no worse than what you did, taking the money away from your children to go bail out your boyfriend. What difference does it make to me as a representative of the government? What happened to the misappropriated money? It wasn't meant for your boyfriend. Put your hand down. By giving the money away for bail, you are stealing the money from your children. You can't do that. You get it? Good. So I am totally disinterested with what happened to the $600.
Okay.
All I know is, as a taxpayer, one thing remains firm. The boyfriend is probably where he belongs, and the $600 was going to get misused, whoever used it, you or him. And I don't care. I got other fish to fry today. What difference does it make to me is whose con it is, his or yours. Now, what other money do you claim he took from you?
He took $200 from the Red Cross that they had gave me. My apartment had burnt down on December 4th. We both were given cards from the Red Cross. I had 722. He received 200 and something. I don't know exactly how much. I had asked him to come into the hotel room with me for a minute to watch my kids while I went to go call my mom. I came back in to get my kids. My mom was taking us to New York to go to court with her.
For what?
She's having a problem with two of my other sisters in New York.
Listen to me. Get to the story. The Red Cross gave you money, and you claim that he took out some money from that card.
I got to New York to take the money off the card so I could buy my daughter something to wear. My card was not there. He was the only person in the room. I have a police report stating where the money came from. It came from an ATM machine from a store that's right down the street from where he lives. I never told him the money came from an ATM machine from a store. When I called him and asked him why he took the money, he told me that there's no ATM machine in the store down the street. I never said anything about a store to him.
Did you steal any money from her Red Cross card?
No, ma'am. You had the cards that they gave us. They give you and only you an access code to those cards. You understand? She asked me to watch the children. My room was 2 doors down from her. I kindly came, watched the children. How can I take something within a matter of seconds?
They have an envelope. They give you the card.
I don't know. All I'm asking you is, did you take her money?
No, ma'am.
They put the card inside of an
understand.
envelope. They put the card inside an envelope, and on the envelope is the PIN number. He knew it too because they gave him the same thing.
So we had the same PIN
So
card?
we
Just a second. Do you work?
Yes.
No,
Who do
he
you-
doesn't.
Shh. I don't want to. Who do you work for?
I work for National Fidelity. I work. It's like it's a loan off. I'm a junior loan officer.
Do you get paid a weekly salary?
Yes.
How much?
I earn $600 a week.
Really?
Yes.
What's the name of your boss?
John. Oh, that's his first name.
What's his phone number?
Excuse me.
Excuse me, phone number. What word didn't
Oh,
you
I
understand?
can't. I don't know the phone
What's
number.
your work
offhand.
phone number?
Excuse me. My work phone number.
Yeah, that would be another.
Like,
What word
everything-
didn't you understand?
Your Honor, everything
please,
is
people
stored
deserve
in my
each other.
phone.
Miss Fessler, your case is dismissed. Listen, when the government wants to give people money, the government intends for the people to use that money for its intended purpose. The fact that your Red Cross, also money that you never earned, the Red
But I had
Cross,
lost
I'm
my
speaking,
house.
you lost your house with money that was given to you by the state.
But he still took it from me.
I
though,
don't
that
know
had
whether
money.
he did or not.
My sister was there with me. He admitted he told my sister
Oh,
that
different
he had the
story.
money.
Come. Your name?
Tia Dixon.
Where do you live?
I live with my boyfriend.
And what do you do for a living?
Well, I'm going to school right now.
What school do you go to?
Mercer County Community College.
How many credits do you take?
not know.
I would know that.
She
Like this.
She just started.
I just started. I start back next Monday for the second
So
semester.
you're not. Oh, please. All right, you say that this young man admitted he took money from
He
you.
admitted it. When she called him about it, he admitted to her that he took it.
How do you know that?
Because I
Shut
was.
up. Don't speak. Because?
Because I was sitting there.
Sitting where?
I was sitting with her.
Yes.
And he admitted that he took the money, and he started
What do you
cussing
mean,
her
you were on
out.
the phone?
Yeah, on the phone. She had chirped him up, and she said if she wanted her money back. He said, first he started cussing her out. He said, stop effing calling me about this. You call me about this one more time, I'm gonna F up you and your kids. He said, I got the money, you not getting it back. And before I even heard all of that, she called me and said she was going to finally get her money back. She went down to the bail bondsman to wait for him.
I'm not talking about the bail bondsman. You didn't understand what I said about the bail bondsman. I'm talking about the ATM.
The ATM card. He went and he took the money off the card. He said that he took it. He
When did he
admitted
tell
it
you that he
about
took it?
He was on the phone with her and he
Again.
admitted.
Just a second. He was on the phone again with her at a different time.
It was a week ago. This happened a week ago.
Miss
I called
Fessler,
him.
your case is dismissed. I'm not happy with anybody here. Why don't you all spend a little more time trying to do something productive and a little less time figuring out how to scam the system? Goodbye.
Excuse, you may step out.
I wasn't spending it for the wrong reasons. That money was given to my whole family.
They have no idea what they're doing here. They're very bad actors.
200 me and my boyfriend got, 200 my kids got, so that made it even.
With them, it's no help. They're just a lost cause.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Miller versus Smith. Step forward, please.
Cindy Miller is suing her former landlord, Grover Smith III, for the return of rent. Cindy says on the day she moved into Grover's home, it was raided by police.
Miss Miller, you rented a room from Mr. Smith in his house?
Yes, Your
Is
Honor,
that
I
right?
did.
According to your complaints, shortly after you moved in, there was a police siege in his house, and Mr. Smith was arrested.
Correct.
You moved out? Wise. Very wise. You want your $500 back.
Correct.
Okay. When did you move in?
I moved in the 10th of December.
Okay. Where had you been living?
In Granada Hills at a different house.
Why did you move out of your last house?
I needed to get another place to live because I was assaulted on Thanksgiving, and that's another case pending, and I was afraid that the assailants would find me where I was. So I needed to find someplace else to go very quickly. So I looked in the penny saver, and I found Mr. Grover's house. And it
Were
was
you assaulted during a robbery attempt, or?
No, it was during Thanksgiving at one of my friend's houses, and
okay.
It's a story. It's another case.
Okay. So you found the room through the penny saver.
Right.
And?
And then I moved in on the 10th of December. And
gave him $500.
I gave him
so
$500.
far correct, Mr. Smith?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Keep going.
And then I moved in about 4:30 on that afternoon on Sunday, and at 8 p.m., 8:30 that night, there was police outside, and they came on the loudspeaker, and they said, "Everybody out of the house, come out with your hands up."
That was the day you moved in?
The day I moved in, like 4 hours later. And Grover comes and knocks on my door and says, "Cindy, we have to go outside because the police want us to go outside." And I said, "Oh my gosh." So I had no shoes on, no coat, but we went to the front door, and Grover looks at me and he says, "Now if they ask you, tell them I didn't change my clothes and I never left the house."
He said that to you?
He said that to me.
Why would you ask her to say that, sir?
I don't recall saying that to her.
That would be an odd thing for her to make up.
Yeah.
What were they looking for you for, Mr. Smith?
I was accused of robbing my ex-girlfriend.
On that day?
On the same day that she moved in, yeah.
Were you home that day?
Yes, I was home.
Did you ever go out that day?
Just one time to the backyard. That's about it for a little while.
How
Do
long?
some yard work.
How long?
Maybe 15, 20 minutes.
Other than that, you were home all day?
Yes.
Was he home all day?
No.
So, you were all made to come out of the house. You weren't totally dressed when you came out of the house. When did you move out?
I didn't move out for a week because I didn't have a place to go just yet. I called my brother that night after the police let us back in the house after a big ordeal with the police handcuffed me. I had to raise
They
my
handcuffed you?
Yes, I had to go out. I had to go out of the house with my hands raised, with the guns pointed at me. And he was yelling at the police saying, you know, "Sir, don't make me come out of the house because I've been shot before by the police." And I was like, oh my gosh. So then they handcuffed me and they patted me down and made sure I didn't have any weapons, and they made us stay outside for like an hour.
When did you ask him for the $500 back?
A few days later.
And what did he say?
No.
I don't recall ever hearing from this woman that, you know, that I owed her any money at all.
Well, what did you think she sent you a summons for, sir? She was inviting you to take line dance lessons?
No, today is the first time that I've heard from this woman.
But you got a summons from her? You came to court? You must have known that she wanted her money back. Why didn't you just give her the $500 back?
I didn't know she wanted any money back until today.
Until today? What did you think she wanted? She wanted to date you?
I thought she was still living in my house. She still lives with me. To my knowledge, she still lives there.
What do you mean?
So,
could have fooled me. I've been gone an
I feel
awful
like
long time.
she's lucky that I'm not countersuing her.
Just a minute. Are you telling me she still lives in your house?
Yes. I've gotten no 30-day notice, let alone no 3-day notice.
I don't care whether you got a 30-day notice, a 3-day notice, or a partridge in a pear tree, sir. Did she live in your house?
Yeah, she lived in my house.
As of when was she sleeping in your house?
As of December 10th.
Oh, get out of here, idiot. Oh, listen, if I could fine you for stupid, I would fine you for stupid. Right now, all you owe is $500. Judgment for the plaintiff.
It was
the
a
amount of
false
$500. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused.
Mac McDonald is suing his friend's estranged husband, Mike Padani, for assaulting him at his place of business. Mike claims Mac had been seeing his wife.
All rise. Now, this is case number 384 on the calendar in the matter of McDonald versus Podany. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Who is this?
This is Joan.
I don't know.
Joan Podany. She's a witness to the assault.
That's your wife?
That's my wife, soon-to-be ex-wife.
Soon-to-be ex-wife.
Yes.
Mr. McDonald, your complaint alleges that the defendant assaulted you. And he assaulted you because he believed that you were messing around with his wife. You want your bills paid, your medical bills, your dental bill. Mr. Podany said he was sort of defending himself because you went after him first. And his honor. Let's see. You weren't arrested for this assault, sir?
No, I wasn't.
Okay, Mr. McDonald, how do you and the defendant's wife know each other?
I've worked with her for 6 years. She also is a friend.
Tell me when this assault took place.
The assault took place September 16th, 2006. It took place at my place of work. Me and Joan went to get something to eat. We returned...
What time?
At 5:30.
After the place closed?
After work, yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I do hair for a living.
So after work, the place closed down and you and the defendant's wife went out for dinner. Is this the first time you did that?
No, I have worked with Joan for 6 years.
So you've gone out for dinner before?
She's been a manager at a business I owned before. So yes, we've gone out to eat before.
Nothing else, just dinner?
Just dinner.
Ever anything else other than just dinner?
No, just dinner.
Went out for dinner, that was about 5:30. What time did you get back?
6:30.
And you, I assume, came back, you went in one car?
Yes, went in my truck.
You were coming back to pick up her car?
Correct.
That's the scene. Tell me what happened.
We pulled up in the parking lot where I work. As I pulled up, I saw that Mike was in the parking lot also.
Had you met him before?
I've known Mike for most of that 6 years also, to the point of actually playing cards and stuff together. Pulled up, I saw Mike starting to walk towards my truck. When he got up next to my truck, I rolled down my window. Mike punched me through my truck window. I then ended up trying to get out of the vehicle. I was unable to get out of the vehicle because he kept shutting the vehicle. So I went over the passenger seat, got out of the vehicle, asked him what was up. His response was that I was messing around with his wife. We told him that we had gone out to eat. I actually had the food container from going out to eat in my vehicle. I gave that to him. Shortly after, the police responded to the scene, asked what...
Who called the police?
I think a witness in the parking lot called the police. They responded fairly fast. They separated all three parties.
Everybody shouting at everybody else?
No, it wasn't that. They just separated. There was actually 3 squads that showed up on the scene. They separated Joan, Mike,
Where
and
was
myself.
Joan?
Joan was with me during this time. She was in the passenger seat, so she also had to go out. She was there when the police showed up. The police asked me if I had been assaulted. I said I had. They asked me what I wanted to do about it, if they wanted to charge Mike. I had said no, but I did tell them, at the time I thought I was going to lose a tooth that was already a fake tooth, so I knew it was going to cost me money. So I told him if I lose my tooth, I'd like to have him pay for it. And I also asked the police to let him know not to come around me anymore from that point on. Hindsight, I wish I would have pressed charges at that time. At the time that that happened, I did not, because I knew that that would potentially cause some trouble for their home. Plus, I know that Mike had some potential trouble in the past, and I did not know if that was going to create a bigger problem than what they already had. But since that time, the stitches came out to be the amount that I'm suing for, the $21.29.
How many stitches
I
did
ended
you
up
have to
with
have?
8 stitches in the front and 2 in my mouth.
Where?
Right there. I have a scar from it.
Well, it all started back when I asked my wife if they've been messing around, and she said, no, they haven't. And then she tells me that she's not in love with me anymore. She told me that night that she's working until 6:30. So we were supposed to go out. We had an engagement to go out on a buddy's yacht to go boating. I called her up. She didn't answer the phone. I called her cell phone. She didn't answer that either. I thought maybe she was just cleaning up, so I thought I'd swing out there and help her clean up.
What time was she due home, sir?
6:30.
So you swung out to see if you could help her clean up?
Right. And the place is all locked up, closed up, and her car's sitting out in the parking lot.
What time did you get there?
It must have been about 5:45.
So you waited?
So I waited, and I called her on the phone. Of course, she didn't answer. Next thing you know, they pull up together in his truck. I walked up to the truck. I was mad. I was angry at what's been going on because I've been accusing her, actually these two, of for a while now. And I walked up to his truck, and I thought he was going to since I was mad and angry, I thought he was going to kick the door at me, so I grabbed it, and when he rolled down the window, I punched him. So I'm, you know, defending my family, trying to protect it. And
No, you're not.
I think I was. And now they're together.
Well, but you're not, sir. You're not allowed to do that. Even if they were doing more than just having dinner after work, you're not allowed to put your hands on somebody else.
I know I'm not supposed to hit him, and
So
I know
why
it
did
was
you do
wrong,
it?
but
How many other people
know.
have you hit when you got angry?
none.
You've been in trouble with the law before?
Yes.
For what?
Fraud.
Nothing other than fraud?
No.
Is it a long time ago or recently?
A long time ago.
Okay, what kind of work do you do, Mr. Padani?
I do home inspections.
You have children?
Yes, I have 4.
How long are you married?
10 years.
How old are your children?
I have a 9-year-old with Joan, and I have 2 20-year-olds and a 17-year-old.
With your former wife?
Right.
How long you divorced from your former wife?
15 years.
Was it your idea or her idea?
Both.
So you fell out of love with each other.
Right.
You fell out of love with each other.
Right. And then I raised those 3 kids.
Good. I mean, that's nice. But you fell out of love with each other because
Right.
that happens. You understood that that happens.
Right.
You didn't beat her up, did you, because she fell out of love with
No.
you? She didn't beat you up because you fell out of love with her.
No.
Right?
Never hit a woman.
But it happens.
It happens.
It happens.
It does. It happens.
Happens. She doesn't say that you have the right to hit him.
No, I'm not proud of hitting him, but
Fine, so then you have to take care of his bills. How much were your bills?
The medical bills were $21, $29. I had to have the truck cleaned out. That was $175. The clothes I was wearing was $125, and I missed a day's work following the incident, which was $500.
I was told he didn't miss any work.
Whether he missed any work or not, sir, he's not even suing you for pain and suffering, which you should. Absolutely should. You have no right to put your hands on somebody else. He's suing you for $29.29, which is nothing. If he would have sued you for $5,000, I would have given it to him. What?
Since then, I've had to get a restraining order against him because he's actually contacted my ex-wife to find out where I live.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You moved on once? You survived?
Move on again.
How old are you?
41.
41. You're a baby. I got a son, 42 years old. He's never been married once. You're looking for wife number 3. Tell me your secret.
And later today,
Do you have a gambling problem?
No.
You have a drug problem?
No.
Your aunt says it was about $150,000 that you blew.
She's correct.
I just want to cry, Judge.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mac McDonald says his friend's estranged husband, Mike Padani, assaulted him in the parking lot at his work.
Mr. McDonald, your complaint alleges that he owes you $29.29. There's no question you're going to get that. I was just gratuitously throwing in that you're entitled to pain and suffering as well. Mr. Padani is lucky that he didn't spend 6 months in jail for assault. I mean, it's over.
It's over.
It's over.
Time to move on.
Time to move on.
Yeah.
You moved on once. You survived.
Move on again.
You're going to move on again. And believe me, how old are you?
41.
41. You're a baby. I got a son, 42 years old. He's never been married once. You're looking for wife number 3. Tell me your secret. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,929. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out, sir. Wait here, sir. How'd the back go to you, right?
It did feel good. But then, of course, he got out of the truck and hit me.
No, I didn't hit him back.
I apologized to him right after I did hit him.
He's always been very possessive.
Well, they've been kind of messing around for a while now.
The defendant does have an anger issue.
When he was saying that I spoke to his wife, I actually ran into her at a bar, and she was telling me that's why they got divorced, because of those two.
He and his first wife had issues, so I think he just kind of carried it over into our relationship.
I'm happy it's done. Time to move on.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Ernest versus Kennedy, step forward, please.
Karen Ernest is suing her nephew, 26-year-old Nicholas Kennedy, for a loan to get his Mustang fixed.
Mr. Kennedy, this is your aunt?
Yes.
That's your mother's sister?
Yes.
Parents are dead?
Yes.
Your aunt tells me that you inherited a lot of money.
I inherited a trust fund from my grandmother when she passed away.
You still have the money?
My aunt is in control of my trust fund, yes.
How old are you?
26.
How much money do you get from the trust fund?
There was a total of $50,000.
So how much income do you get from that every year?
I actually do not know, Judge. My aunt is in full control of it. She's the trustee of the trust fund until I'm 35.
Well, there has to be income that's paid out periodically. How much income is paid out to him?
Judge Judy, due to financial issues with Nicholas over the
past few years. Before the passing of his grandmother, I sat down with her and her attorney, and we came up with an idea that the only way that Nicholas will ever have any money in the future was to set the age limit of 35 for him to get the money.
And the income is reinvested?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, this is what the case is about. I just have to get a little bit of a picture of the family. You don't mind, Miss Ernest, do you?
No, Judge.
Because one gets the sense from reading these papers that you adored him and he disappointed you. You made him, according to you, a loan to have his car fixed, and he promised he would pay you back.
Yes.
It was a relatively small loan.
Very small.
So I don't think that it's the money necessarily that's the issue.
You're absolutely right. It's the principle.
Right. And he hasn't paid you back.
Not a dime.
When did you take the money from your aunt to fix the car?
It was in the end of July, beginning of August of 2006.
What was wrong with your car?
The rotors, the heat shield, and the calipers were completely shot, as well as the bearings. It basically sounded like it was a bag of tin cans in the back of my car.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Kennedy?
I'm a blackjack dealer at a casino in central New York.
Do you have a gambling problem?
No.
You have a drug problem?
No.
How long have you been a blackjack dealer?
2 years.
You get paid reasonable money?
Roughly $30,000 a year.
You support anyone other than yourself?
I have my daughter to support, yes.
How old is she?
2 years old.
Does she live with you?
No.
How much do you send her for support?
$310 a month.
Are you current?
Yes.
Do they take it out of your pay?
Yes.
That's why you're current. Good. So how come you were in such dire straits that you needed money from your aunt?
At the time, my wife and I were talking about a separation, and I spoke with my aunt. My aunt has a great deal of dislike for my wife, and she was very happy at the sound of my wife and I separating. At the time, I was...
Does she dislike her because of things that you've told her about your wife?
No.
She just decided that you didn't like her on her own?
Yeah, I believe something happened way back in the beginning in 2002 when we first got together, and things just kind of escalated from there.
Whose fault was it, without going into the story?
I really don't know. I don't even know all the details myself.
Go ahead. So?
I was in some financial trouble, and...
Why?
I was only working part-time at that point, and I needed some assistance with getting the separation going, and when I spoke to my aunt about the separation, she told me she'd help me in any other way she could possibly help me. And I also
Has she done that before?
Yes, she has.
So she's been supportive of you since you were born?
Correct. And I mentioned to her that I was having car problems, but I didn't have the money to fix my car at that time. She then offered to help me get my car fixed. Not once did she tell me that this was a loan or that I'd have to pay her back, just that she would help me get my car fixed so that I could have it back on the road. It was my only vehicle. My wife had her own vehicle at the time as well.
Now, when did she ask you for the money back, Mr. Kennedy?
Since then, I've only had 1 or 2 conversations with her in 6 months, and about a couple of weeks ago, out of the blue, I got a letter.
When, for the first time, did she ask you for the money back?
She has not asked me for the money back.
Is that right, Miss Ernest?
Incorrect.
Go ahead.
I made numerous telephone calls to Nicholas, his only cell phone that he had, and he never returned any calls whatsoever.
Tell me about the conversation that you had with him in either July or August.
Initially, I was contacted by Nicholas August 1st, 2006. He says that he has problems with his car. It's the only vehicle he has to get to work, and he can't afford to get it fixed. I told him I want nothing to do with trying to help him anymore because
Why? Tell me why.
Just so many financial issues in the past. Him and his wife have a bankruptcy already on them, 6 months into the marriage. They just can't rub two nickels together. They can't save a dime, and I didn't believe he was going to have any way to pay me back. So it's a lost cause. He begged and pleaded with me that he really needs to have his car fixed. It's the only way he can get to work. During that conversation, he also stated that they were in the process of selling their home and separating, that they were closing the end of August, and he promised, out of the closing of the house, that he would pay me back.
Did you sell your house?
Yes, I did.
When?
It was at the end of August.
How much equity did you have in your house?
We sold just the house, the furniture. We took all the furniture with us, but the house itself sold for $32,000.
That doesn't give me the answer. How much equity did you have in the house? Did you have a mortgage?
No.
So you had $32,000?
Correct.
Where's the money?
We used the money to pay back my wife's car loan, and then the rest of the money we invested into a new apartment for us. Getting new furniture, getting ourselves reset up.
What'd you need new furniture for?
The furniture we had was completely destroyed.
What do you mean it was destroyed? Was there a hurricane?
No, my daughter.
Oh, you mean so it was destroyed by a 2-year-old?
Yeah.
It was destroyed by a 2-year-old. Mr. Kennedy, you sound ridiculous, sir. You sound ridiculous. Does your wife work?
No.
Are you back together again?
No.
When did that change?
We
Yesterday?
We started working on things, and right now it's just kind of a rocky relationship. Right now it's just for my daughter.
So when you bought the new furniture, who moved into this apartment with the new furniture?
We moved in together, and I resided there for 5 days before I moved out.
Something had to happen, Mr. Kennedy. This is becoming more interesting.
I began seeing one of my coworkers.
Oh, so you sold the house. Whose house was it? Yours, or was it the family house?
It was the money from my inheritance from my mother's passing.
Fine, because I gather from your aunt, which I sort of believe that you can't rub 2 nickels together. So you got a little inheritance, you bought a house. Let me follow this. With the money that you got, you bought a house, you sold the house, you took the $32,000. You paid off your wife's car.
Correct.
How much was that?
$14,000.
Then you bought new furniture because the 2-year-old destroyed the furniture.
Correct.
And you bought new furniture, put it in an apartment, brand new apartment. You spent the rest of the money, $20,000, $18,000, and you bought new furniture, moved into an apartment that you lived in for 5 days because you started fooling around with a coworker.
Correct.
How much was the car payment?
$649.61. Judge Judy, may I get the correct calculations of his inheritance totals?
Yeah, your aunt says that you got a lot more money than that, Mr. Kennedy. She said it was more like about $150,000 that you blew.
She's correct. That was the original inheritance from my mother.
How long ago?
That was back in 2004.
Mr. Kennedy, you have to grow up, sir. Your aunt is finished with you. So your wife is driving around in a brand new car. You are no longer together. Is that so far correct? Are you now with the coworker?
Yes.
Ah, perfect.
I just want to cry, Judge Judy.
Listen,
I love you.
some grow up, some don't grow up. You have to know the difference between things you can change and things that you can't. That doesn't mean that you don't love him. That means that if he needs a kidney, you may have to give it to him, but if he needs any money, let him get another job. That's easy, you know? I mean, you may have to give him an organ one day because you love him.
I did tell him no multiple times in the conversation on the phone.
Yeah, he can't, I mean, he can't keep tapping into other people to clean up the mess after him. He's 26 years old. In the scheme of things, in a man's life anyway, that's still very young, If they're going to grow up at all, it usually takes about 50 years. And then it's a downhill slide. But he's got a way to go.
His grandma got smart in holding the trust till he's 35 years old.
Because he'll go through 50,000 like water through a goose. Right? Good.
Yes.
Okay, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $649.61. That's all. Thank you.
What is your excuse? You may step out.
43-year-old electrician Alan Falk is suing his ex-fiancée, 49-year-old casino floor employee Lori Price Bars, for the return of an engagement ring and for the money to get a divorce.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Your Honor, this is case number 42 on the calendar in the matter of Falk versus Price Bars. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Falk, you and the defendant lived together for 5 years, became engaged. That relationship terminated. You want your engagement ring back.
Yes, ma'am.
You want money that you claim to have loaned her so that she could obtain an attorney to get a divorce. And you want your dog back.
Well, that would be nice, yes.
Listen, let's eliminate what you really don't want. You want the dog or not?
I'm going to let her have the dog.
Perfect. See how easily we can pare down a lawsuit. Okay. So you want your ring back and your money back.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant says that the ring, while it was originally an engagement ring, turned out not to be an engagement ring. Anyway, let's get to it. When did you start to live together?
About late November 1995.
And when did the relationship terminate?
November of 2000.
When did you purchase this engagement ring?
In 1996, Your Honor. 11/19 of 96. Original price on it was $3,570. I have all receipts, etc. here for you. Could I submit all this at this time?
It's all the evidences, photographs, and everything to back any claim I'm going to be making, Your Honor.
Okay. Now tell me about the loan for the lawyer.
Well, Miss Price and I got together, and she decided, well, she had told me that she left her ex-husband. She wanted to divorce him. She wanted to get together with me. I said, fine. I'll loan you the money for a lawyer. Just pay me back. Well, I never got paid back.
When did you loan her the money for the lawyer?
The receipt is in there. I believe it was in 1996 and 97. It would be right here. The original charge was made on 12/18 of 97.
And you continued to live together, sir, for 3 years after that?
Yes, ma'am.
How much did you give her for the lawyer?
The total amount ended up being $1,030, including finance charges, et cetera, et cetera.
What was the amount without the finance charges, sir?
$835, Your Honor.
And for the time that you lived together, Mr. Falk, the 3 years that you lived together after that, how many times did you bring up this $835 that you
We fought about it a bunch of times.
That's a lot. Tell me about that.
Well, I just told her it wasn't fair. I'm paying all the bills here. She wouldn't contribute to anything for the house, for any of the bills, for anything that she was, was getting. She wouldn't contribute to anything. I says, look, you've got to pay your own way for this stuff. Your ex-husband should have paid for his own divorce. That was between you and him. Why did I have to pay for it? I agreed to loan you the money.
So you fought over money. No, Mr. Falk, you're not following me, sir. You fought over money, but not in the 3 years, over specifically.
Yes, we fought specifically over that.
When was she supposed to pay you back this $835?
She said she'd start paying me back every week out of her check, and I've yet to see anything for it.
So, Mr. Falk, 3 years went by, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let me ask you this question. Your last name is now Bars?
Yes,
You're married?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Where's the engagement ring?
Actually...
Actually is not an answer. I want to know where the engagement ring is now.
I do not know. It could be in storage. He packed my stuff when I moved out. I'm missing 2 rings. I'm assuming they're in the storage box, which I can't get to because our place is very small. All my clothes, everything is in storage.
I don't believe you. Let me explain why. I don't believe you. Because if you are being sued for the return of a piece of property, then you go to the storage unit and you look for boxes. Now, I have moved several times.
Mm-hmm.
I put books in storage. I put pictures in storage. I put blankets in storage. I don't put jewelry in storage. However, if you believed that this ring was actually in storage and you wanted to give it back to him...
No, I didn't.
Oh, that's a different story.
Yes.
That's a different story. Now, you explain why you don't believe you have to return it to him, because I don't believe that you don't know where it is in storage.
Okay.
All right, good.
Okay, the ring, like he said, was purchased in November. I didn't know he got it. It was presented to me Christmas morning as a Christmas gift. We had decided to use that as an engagement ring. Subsequently, that was...
What do you mean you had decided to use it as an engagement ring? What did the ring look like?
It's a gold band with pave diamonds. It's very pretty. And subsequently, we had decided not to get married. And the ring was never asked for back to be returned. I always had it. I was kicked out once. He asked for it back. I gave it to him. He gave it back to me. At this point, I didn't consider it. It was just a pretty ring, not an engagement ring.
You met someone else, according to what I've read from your answer. You met someone else at your job.
Yes.
And that's the reason that your relationship with Mr. Falk terminated.
Mainly, yes.
And you subsequently married. I assume this is your husband.
Yes, it is.
Then the right thing to do is to return this ring that he purchased and that you had originally determined was an engagement ring. That's the right thing to do.
Okay, Your Honor, the reason that I was not going to, had a phone call in which my husband was a witness. He talked to him from Mr. Falk calling me, telling me if I would give him one of the dogs, he would drop the whole thing. If I would not give up one of the dogs, that this was just the beginning. That's word for word what he said, and my husband heard it.
Did you give him back one of the dogs?
No, they're both my dogs.
Okay.
No, not.
So let us assume that he said that to you. Either the ring or the dog. Now, if you could have established that to my satisfaction and you did, in fact, give him back the dog, well, then that was a quid pro quo.
Yeah.
He would have accepted it if I believed that.
Right.
But you didn't give him back the dog.
No.
So it's clear from what you just said to me that he considered this an engagement ring that he wanted back.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Alan Falk says ex-fiancée Lori Price Bars won't return the engagement ring. Alan also says he paid for Lori's divorce.
Let me ask you this question. Over the 5 years that you were together, did Mr. Falk buy you other pieces of jewelry?
Yes.
Give me an example.
A gold anklet.
Okay.
And pair of earrings.
Okay.
And that was it.
And?
What else? What else, Mr. Falk?
Tennis bracelets, a diamond necklace. There were 2 sets of earrings.
No, there weren't.
I don't know where else. I've got the receipts for all of it.
Mr. Falk.
I have receipts for all of it, ma'am.
You see-
Furthermore, may I interject one thing? She said she had no knowledge of the ring. I'd like to let it known right now, she picked out the ring at Zales Jewelers at Meadows Mall in Las Vegas, Nevada. She picked out the ring.
No, I picked it out. I didn't know he bought it until I got it Christmas
You
morning.
knew we bought it because I
Mr.
made
Falk,
an
don't
$800 down
Mr.
payment
Falk,
on it.
Mr. Falk, don't speak to her, sir.
I'm sorry.
Ms. Bars, what he hasn't done is he hasn't asked for any of this other jewelry back. Did you give him the other jewelry back?
No.
Because those, he understands, were gifts.
Right.
But this ring that he purchased, that you acknowledge was at some point, may have been presented to you at Christmas time, but at that time, you decided to get married. That was the intention when he gave you the ring.
Right.
According to my logic, an engagement ring is given in contemplation of marriage. If the marriage does not take place, the eventuality of the contract is not realized, and the ring goes back to the person who gave it.
Okay, even with him kicking me out several times and never asking for it back?
But you came back.
Well, he didn't
But
know
you
I was
came-
going to.
But you came
Yeah.
back.
Okay, gotcha.
Lovers have quarrels. That's what happens. And the right thing to do is to return the ring to him. So I'm going to ask you one more time. Do you have the ring?
No, I'll go through storage. I'm assuming it's in the storage.
Okay. Mr. Falk, I want you to pay careful attention to what my ruling is. I believe that you are absolutely entitled to the return of this ring. And you paid $3,570 for it.
Correct.
The fact that you put it on layaway and may be paying it off and still paying it off, no, that's not her problem. That's your problem. If you buy an engagement ring, you pay for it right up front. Otherwise, you're still paying for something, and you may turn out to be not too happy with it a couple of years down the road. So Ms. Bars is going to have 5 days from today's date to locate the ring. If she does not, court will enter judgment in your favor in the amount of $3,570. However, I do not believe that there was a formal agreement between the two of you for this 1997 loan of $835 for the attorney. I believe that in the course of living together, you decided that she should formalize her situation. You paid the lawyer $835, and for the next 3 years you lived together, and you may have fought over money, all sorts of money, money for rent, money for household, money for living, money for insurance, money for cars, general money, where she was not contributing to the household. But there was never any agreement, I don't believe, between the two of you that she was going to repay you in any formalized way this amount of $835 for the lawyer. I assume you ultimately got your divorce.
Yes, ma'am. I did.
Hope so. So I am entering that judgment for you, sir. Either 5 days you get the ring back, or the court will enter the judgment for $3,570. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
You may step out.
Miss Price is a liar. She slept behind my back for the last year with other people.
When he found out that I married Joe as the first time, he asked for the ring back.
She's done nothing but use and abuse and lie to me our entire relationship.
I'm just going to stay with him. I trust him.
And now the next case.
All parties on Sandoval versus Lopez. Step forward, please.
32-year-old beer vendor Rudy Sandoval is suing his ex-fiancée, 31-year-old store manager Hortensia Lopez, for credit card charges. Hortensia says the charges have been paid and the money came from a joint account.
Mr. Sandoval, how long were you and the defendant involved in a relationship?
Approximately about 1 year.
How long did you live together?
About 11 months, 11 and a half months.
All right, so you moved in shortly after you met.
That's correct.
Did she move into your house?
I moved into her house, to her apartment.
About what point in the relationship did you have this joint credit card, which is a big no-no?
December of '99.
And you lived together until when?
November 19th of
2000.
2000.
It is your claim, Mr. Sandoval, that at the time that you separated, and I assume you moved out of her house.
No, Your Honor, we purchased a home in July of 2000.
In whose name?
Both our names are on the house.
It is your claim that she owes you for some credit card purchases on the MasterCard that you jointly had. Not a stupendous amount of money considering the other major purchases that you indulged in, $517.74. You have your statement?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Can I see it, please? By the way, while you're looking for that, what's happening with the house that you jointly own?
We're in the process of selling it.
That's correct. Your Honor, with the house issue, we own the house together. She did not pay a dime on the house. She basically left other bills, gas bills, light bills that she did not pay on. We had a joint checking account together. She had an insurance payment withdrawal monthly out of that checking account. Well, she no longer contributed any money after October, and basically it's the same issue here with the credit card issue.
Were you putting money into a joint account?
Yes, we were.
Yes.
And out of that money, Mr. Sandoval, bills were being paid, I assume, by check.
That is correct.
Who was paying the bills?
I was.
Both.
I mean, who was physically writing out the checks?
I was, Your Honor.
And when you physically wrote out the checks, you determined how much you were going to pay towards each bill that you had. Is that right?
That is correct.
And on this account, the charges, and I assume the charges that you're attributing to Ms. Lopez, have stars on them.
That is correct, Your Honor.
And they start in August of 2000.
That is correct.
And it is clear to me that you were paying not the entire bill as each bill came due, but you were paying certain minimums on the credit card, right?
That is correct.
And you, sir, were making a determination of how much of the joint monies went to pay this bill.
That is correct.
Now, you don't expect me to go back to August of 2000 and say, well, you decided to pay the minimum payment $77 or $85 or $100 on all these charges. So you allocated that money. And you expect me to figure out whether you made correct allocations and therefore she owes you percentages of this? You expect me to do that? Forget it. Okay. Up until what time were you both contributing money to the bank account?
November. I have record of that.
Let me see, please.
Your Honor, so what you're saying...
This is for the full year. I was putting my income into the account until November, the last time he took my credit cards
okay, just
and
a second.
cell phone from
I
me.
just want to see the... Would you just ask her to show me? Don't give
I'm
me
sorry.
this whole thing. You know, I have
I'm
limited
sorry.
patience and I'm old. I don't have that many years. Just show me the
last-
deposit that you made in November.
Your Honor, can I say something?
No, don't wait until she gives me the piece of paper and then Bird takes his position. Then everything is orderly. I like orderly. Okay. Okay. So now you understand my position, sir. You have an ongoing balance here.
That is correct.
Right.
It's a joint...
It may be a joint account, but you made the determination as to how much was paid out of that joint account towards these bills. And you want her to reimburse you for all of these purchases. So what you're expecting a judge to do is to determine whether or not you made the proper allocation of your joint monies in paying this MasterCard. All right? How much were you putting in the account in, let's say, August, July and August?
About $2,000, a little bit under $2,000 a month.
$2,000 a month. And how much were you putting in the account, sir?
Close to $4,000. So if you kind of put all that money there, if you split everything in half, I was contributing more than...
You may have been.
And I'm not...
You may have been contributing more. What I'm saying to you is there are rules of law that are applicable to people who are married. That is, if you are in a community property state, you have joint debts. Courts go through the papers. They say this is what you own as a couple, as a married couple. This is what the marital debt is. We will separate the marital debt. We will separate the marital asset. Each one of you gets half. Goodbye and good luck. What you are suggesting, sir, is that I take a look at your finances that go back a year and determine whether it was fair for you to allocate so much money towards this account, or could you have paid off this account, paid off so that there wouldn't be, by the time you separated in November, any balance at all. I'm telling you, if she had purchased things that she did not pay for, and you had a current balance on this MasterCard, I would say, madam, you are absolutely responsible for those charges that you made. But I do not plan to be your accountant. Do you understand?
I understand.
Good. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
34-year-old postal worker Chevelle Lassie is suing her former landlord, 48-year-old computer administrator Kenneth Strickland, for the return of rent and a water bill. Kenneth says Chevelle lied on her rental application.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 502 on the calendar in the matter of Lassie versus Strickland. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Ms. Lassie, you were a tenant of the defendants for 2 years, according
Yes.
to your complaint, and you claimed that for 2 years you overpaid him in rent.
Yes.
And you want to be reimbursed for that overpayment.
Yes.
The defendant seems to say that you caused all the problems yourself, and he owes you nothing. So let's get some dates and facts. What kind of property was this? Was it a house or an apartment?
No, it was a house.
And when did you move into the house?
November 7th, 1998.
Did you have a lease?
Yes.
May I see the copy of the lease? Who moved into the house?
Me and my 2 kids.
Was that all the people who lived in the house?
Yeah, my boyfriend used to be there, but he didn't live there.
You still have the same boyfriend?
Yes.
How old are your 2 children?
11 and 8.
Is he the father of those 2 children?
No.
But he was your boyfriend in 1998? Where does he live?
In L.A.
And who does he live with?
His sister.
Right.
Huh?
Right.
Right what?
Just what I said. Right. All right. So you, your 2 children, and your boyfriend were there most of the time?
Well, he always was in L.A. because it was so far. So some nights he'll come over and sleep over, but mainly he was in L.A. by his mother or his sister because, you know, it was too far.
Right. Okay. This is not your lease, madam. What
Yes.
you handed me here, at least the first page of it, unless there was another lease.
That's the whole contract from Section 8.
I'm not asking you for the contract from Section 8
Well, that's
housing.
the only lease that I have because that's how I got the house through Section 8. And that's the only lease that I have.
What was the entire rent that you were supposed to be paying pursuant to this lease agreement voucher program?
It's on one of those pages that's right up in there, 219.
It says the housing subsidy payment is $581, and the tenant's monthly payment shall be $219. Now, did the landlord get this $581 himself, directly from the state?
Yes, that's the contract.
Did you get
from
that
Section
directly
8.
from the state, $581?
Yes.
Okay. And she was supposed to give you, according to this, $219.
Yes.
Now, you moved in November 7th of 1998, and when did you vacate?
I didn't vacate till January the 9th when he moved my stuff out illegally.
Just a minute. January the 9th
Yes.
of 2001. And what rent were you paying?
For the whole, okay, I was paying $219 up until April 1999.
Okay, so up until April of 1999, you were paying what you were supposed to pay.
Yeah, $219.
And then what happened?
And then he said that the rent was going up, that I had to pay him the $620.
When did he tell you that?
That was in, I think it was March, because I have the first receipt that he handwritten right here for the $620.
So you started to pay him $620.
Yes.
In
April. Here you go, right here.
April of 1999. In May of 1999. You
April.
said you paid him in April $219.
Not April. Here you go. February the $219. Here you go. And this the one April for 1999 for the $620.
Okay. So in April of 1999, you started to pay him $620.
Yep.
Okay. And did you pay him the $620 from April 1999?
Yes.
Until you, you didn't hear my question.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Did you pay him the $620 each month from April of 1999 until you vacated the house on January 9th of 2001?
No, I paid it from April till October. After October is when a big dispute came about. In November was when he said, don't pay nothing the rest of the 2 months while you're there. See, if I get to tell what really happened, then you'll see why. Nothing got paid in November, nothing got paid December, nothing got paid January. I was supposed to move out January the 21st is when he went in my home on the 9th and removed all my property, put half in storage, left half there.
I don't care about your property,
Okay,
madam.
well, that's
not
what
the
I'm
subject
saying.
of this
That's what
lawsuit.
it-
I'm only asking you about when you paid rent.
Up
So you
until
didn't-
October.
Did she pay in October?
She paid all but $120 of the $620 that she was paying me.
I gave him $500.
Just a second. But she still was overpaying.
I don't want to answer that question until I present my side of the case, ma'am.
Okay. Well, at least according to you, Miss Lassie, you paid for approximately 18 months,
Mm-hmm.
an additional $401 a
Yes,
month.
Yes,
That comes to $7,218,
yes.
which exceeds the limit of this court. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Limit of this court is $5,000. Okay, let me hear the story, Mr. Strickland.
On 9/26/98, Chevelle Lassie, she filled out an application rental for that home that we were speaking of. And I thought the application looked good. It indicated that she had a job making $3,800 a month. It also indicated that she was had a voucher program. She had a car, a 1998 Mustang, and her Social Security number was on there.
Do you have a copy of that application?
Absolutely.
Can I see it, please?
Okay, I'll just sample it. Rental application. I felt that it looked good, and we got together. We talked about renting the house. We made an agreement, signed a rental agreement prior to the section or the housing agency, and that's this right here.
May I see it, please?
And I was under the impression that she could pay that amount since she, expressly signed that contract. About a month later, the situation broke down as I got the information from the housing agency that she couldn't pay $1,251 and that they would only allow $800 because she didn't have a job. She was on welfare. And so that struck me kind of odd. So I called her up, went over there, and I asked her, I said, well, they're not going to allow you to have the $1,251, and I thought that you had a job that could to pay over this voucher amount. And so I asked her why did she lie on the rental application. He says, don't worry, we're going to pay you. And I said, what do you mean we're going to pay you? And then at that time, her boyfriend came out and he says, Ken, we really like your house, man. Don't you worry about it. We're going to pay you, I said, well, I don't know about this because, I spent a lot of money getting this house prepared, and I also thought I had got someone in there that was truthful and honest, and that didn't turn out to be. By that time, I felt that this person was living there. Not only that, I noticed that she had 3 dogs, 2 out in the yard, 1 in the house, and they also had a bird, which was strictly prohibited by, the contracts that we signed.
So why'd you evict her?
Because it was a very tight spot for me.
No, it isn't.
Mm-mm.
No, it isn't, Mr. Strickland.
No.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Chevelle Lassie says former landlord Kenneth Strickland overcharged her for rent. Kenneth says Chevelle lied about her qualifications for Section 8.
Listen, were you working at air conditioning?
Yes.
On whatever date you filled out this application. Let's
Yes.
see, you filled out this application
9/26/98.
9/26/98.
Mhm.
You were working there?
Yes.
And you were earning $3,800 a month?
Yes, because I was working at Federal Express, too, during part-time.
Just a second. You were earning $3,800 a month?
Yes.
Why were you also getting a housing subsidy?
I've been getting housing since I was in New Orleans.
I don't
And I
care whether-
transferred my housing here, and if you work, that's all they do is make your rent go up some or make it go back down.
That's all it does.
You mean if you're making almost $4,000 a month, you're going to get somebody else to pay your rent?
You can be on Section 8 and make good money, just that your rent will be higher. You know, if you're not working, it goes down. So then when I wasn't working, it went all the way down. Because once I moved to Palmdale, I wasn't working at air conditioner no more. I got me another job.
Working for whom?
It's a warehouse place.
And how much were you earning there?
I don't have the total figures in front of me.
Well, give me an idea. Were you earning more or less than $3,800?
I was making less.
Did you tell him that you were going to change your jobs?
Oh, he knew where I was working.
Make $4,000 a month, and the boyfriend lives there, too. What kind of work does he do?
No, my boyfriend was not living there. He was not living there.
Yeah, right. And your obligation was $200 a month?
$219.
$219 a month. That's a very good deal. Most people these days pay at least
Well,
a
that's
third.
what Section 8
I said
approved
to you,
it to be, $219.
Oh, this is a wonderful America. You can just transfer your Section 8 wherever you go.
Yes, because I have a voucher. I could transfer it anywhere I want.
Yeah, isn't that wonderful? Listen, it doesn't relieve you. You know the score. You're a smart man, right? You sign an agreement with Section 8 housing? Sir. Yeah. And your agreement with Section 8 housing is clear. This is what you collect from us. This is what you collect from her. Her obligation is $219. What you're telling me now is you entered into a side agreement with her that she would pay you more than the $219 if she really wanted the place. Is that what you're telling me? But that's prohibited by Section 8, right?
That is
Ah.
prohibited.
It's prohibited by Section 8. All right, but she still didn't pay rent for 3 months. Any rent for 3 months.
Because Section 8, this is what happened. He called me one morning in November, in 6:30 in the morning, and told me because Section 8 didn't pay him his $581 because he didn't do some work that was done in the house when they came to inspect it, that if I didn't pay the whole $1,200, that I had to get out. I told him I was not paying it. I'ma just move. Went to Section 8, told them what happened. That's when my worker let me know, no, you are not liable to pay what we do not pay him. But he had me under the impression that I was supposed to be paying him the whole amount that they didn't pay him, and it was a lie. And when I confronted him about it, oh, well, that's what Section 8 told me. I said, no, they didn't. You was just trying to get my money. So I let her know I had been overpaying him the rent, and she the one told me to call legal aid to get advice on it, how to sue him to get my money back. And
did you file tax returns last year?
No. Wait, did I file what?
Tax returns
Oh, yeah,
last
I'm
year.
sorry. I'm sorry.
How much did you earn last year?
I don't know. It's on the papers. I don't have them with me.
Everybody knows how much they earn.
Let me see. About...
Everybody
knows.
knows.
It was like 20, 24, 25, something like that. I don't know the exact amount.
Drive a car?
Yep.
What kind of car do you drive?
A Toyota Camry.
What year?
1988.
What happened to the Mustang?
I don't have it anymore.
What happened to it?
I sold it.
Well, you were driving a new car. A 98.
I just decided that I didn't want it no more. One of my friends took over the notes on the car. I went to the auction, got me a little 1988
Just a minute.
Camry.
So you were paying out notes on the Mustang in 1998 when you filled out this rental
Yes.
application. And how much was your car note?
With insurance and everything, it was like $451
a month.
Yes.
So you're paying $451 a month for your Mustang, and you're paying $219 for rent.
Yes.
You're in the wrong business.
What you mean the wrong business?
You're right.
I mean, I had help. So, I mean, what's the wrong business? I had a boyfriend that was helping me out. I mean, what's the wrong business?
The problem is I got 2 people playing the system, right? I got 2 people playing the system, and certainly Mr. Strickland, I mean, his excuse was that he was lied to on the initial application.
No, he was not.
And that, yeah, he was.
No, he was not. He
was.
I was working at air condition. I wasn't even on the county then.
You are on the county is when you, listen, madam, when the government pays your rent.
Okay, well, you can work and have Section 8.
I'm speaking, when the government pays your rent, that means you're taking money from the state because you can't afford to pay your own rent. People who can't afford to pay their own rent don't spend $450 to drive around in a Mustang convertible.
Judge, when I got to Section 8 in New Orleans, I was not working. I transferred my stuff here. You are allowed to work and get Section 8. You are allowed to work.
I didn't say that you weren't, madam.
I mean, well...
I didn't say that you weren't allowed to work. You are allowed to work and still get assistance if you're not earning enough money to pay for your rent. What I'm saying to you is if you can afford $450 a month to drive around in a new car, then you don't need that much money to pay your rent. That's what I'm saying. You don't get that? No, you don't get that. Now, Mr. Strickland, who filled out this application?
Can I see if that's...
Chevelle Lasai filled that out.
Okay. Did you call her employer, sir, to check these references?
I did call her place of employment, and they did verify that she worked there.
For 4 years?
Yes.
All right. Now, Mr. Strickland, let us assume that this is correct. This was not misleading. If you called and verified that she was working there, then she didn't fill out a false application. She may have changed her jobs later. And she did, in fact, have this 1998 Mustang. So why is this false?
Social Security number is wrong.
Oh, you're full of baloney. You're a smart guy.
Okay, I have...
You're a smart guy. What difference does it make if the Social Security number was wrong? What substantive difference does it make? She gave you her name, she gave you her address, how much rent she was paying, where she was working, how much she was earning. You called and verified where she was working. She did, in fact, have the car at the time. So your defense to me initially, at least in your answer, Mr. Strickland, was that she lied initially in her application. I don't see any lies here.
Okay, could I continue then my...
And do it fast, sir.
Okay, soon after she moved in, like I said, the agency said that we signed the agreement, and however, when they had told me that she wasn't capable of paying it, I went to her, and as I said, we talked about this, and at the time the guy came out, he says, we are going to pay it. Then they had 3 dogs there. They had a bird.
I got 3 dogs and a bird. Yeah, go ahead.
And I said, shh. And I told him, in no uncertain terms, I said, because you are breaking the lease, you know, I have to charge you damages on a monthly basis, and that's going to be $451 plus the water, trash, and everything else. And she agreed to do that.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Doesn't make any difference, sir. Sir, you know that the rules state the contract you signed with U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development are clearly specified that you are not permitted to charge her any more money. Now, if, Mr. Strickland, you say to me that she was going to pay you $219 and that you had an agreement with her boyfriend and you could establish that he was living there, that you had an additional agreement, that he was an additional tenant in that property, I may say, maybe. But you knew that you were breaking the law by overcharging her. You knew that. The fact that she shouldn't be receiving this money to begin with irritates me as a taxpayer. Big time. Big time. Because she says, well, they just transferred from New Orleans to where I'm living.
They did.
Well, she's a little bit smarter than that,
That's
Your Honor.
not
Just a second. Listen to me. She's very smart. She's got the system worked out fine. She's got the boyfriend who lives there. The 2 of them work, right? And the total income that they have, on their total joint incomes, they pay rent of $219 a month. And at the same time, I'm sure he has a car. She's driving around in a new Mustang, right? Taxpayers are footing the rest of the bill, $580 a month for her rent that we're paying as taxpayers. So believe me, I understand that she's got it down pat, but you broke the rules. And unfortunately, as unfair as it may sound to me as a taxpayer, you are responsible for this $5,000, which is the maximum that I can award her because she actually overpaid over $7,000 in rent. So I have no choice, sir, but to enter a judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $5,000. And I want to tell you something. It breaks my heart. Thank you. That's
Pardons
all.
our excuse. You may step out.
36-year-old deli manager Lisa Lopez is suing her ex-boyfriend, 33-year-old truck driver Leonard Martinez, for the return of her belongings. Leonard is countersuing also for the return of belongings.
Order. Come to order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 511 on the calendar in the matter of Lopez versus Martinez. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats.
I hope this is a good one. You dated until about 2 years ago and remained friends over the last 2 years. Is that right?
Right.
According to your complaint, he has some stuff at his house that belongs to you.
Right.
According to his countersuit, you have some stuff that belongs to him. He also wants to be reimbursed, he says, for harassment, because you've been harassing him, and for lost wages. You'll explain that to me, sir. What stuff do you have at his house?
I have like my microwave, my stereo, my mountain bike, my Coca-Cola porcelain doll, an official Coca-Cola shirt.
So let's start with the big stuff. Microwave. Do you have a microwave?
No, I don't.
Did she have a microwave at your house?
No, she didn't.
I have a receipt. I bought a microwave at...
She bought. We bought.
No, we didn't.
Shh, don't fight with each other.
We didn't, Your Honor. I'm sorry. Leonard doesn't like to take any responsibility.
Just don't editorialize. Give me a receipt for the microwave, and then I'll find out where it is. People buy things, they live together, they don't get married, they expect to come into court and somebody else to take care of it. When did you buy this?
In the latter part of 1999 or 8.
Get out of here. What are you giving me a receipt for that talks about something that was purchased 2 days ago?
No, that's a receipt. That's price verification.
It's not a price verification. Show me the receipt of the microwave you bought 2 years ago.
I can't, Your Honor, because all the receipts are in his house. I can't
Listen to me, Miss Lopez. You bought the microwave when the two of you were living together?
We were
Listen to me carefully. You bought it when you were living together, is that right?
Off and on, yes.
We were never living together. I'm just stating a fact.
Don't state anything till I look in your direction. You bought it when you were a couple together.
Right.
Then you were no longer a couple but remained friends.
Right.
The microwave stayed in his house for 2 years. Is that right?
Right.
Why are you bothering me about it now?
Because I'm paying for it. It's
Good.
fine.
Pay for it. Pay for it. If you bought something in 1998, now it's the year 2001, right?
Right.
You cannot sleep on a claim. Do you understand?
Right.
What else is in the house that belongs to you?
My Coca-Cola collection.
Coca-Cola collection.
Right.
What is the Coca-Cola collection?
Coca-Cola memorabilia.
What was it doing in his house?
Okay, could I explain why it's at his house? Anything that
That's what I'm asking you.
Anything that goes into his house cannot leave. If anything leaves, it has to be returned that day, or if not, the next day.
So why did you bring it there in the first place?
To show him.
She doesn't know anything about Coca-Cola stuff.
It's Lopez. How many things did you bring him there to show him?
My Coca-Cola porcelain doll.
When did you bring that? At a different time?
Yeah, sometime last year.
If you brought a Coca-Cola collection and he wouldn't let you take it out of the house, right? That's what you said.
Right.
And then you bring a porcelain doll, knowing that he won't let you out of the house, what does that make you?
Stupid.
No, that makes this lawsuit nonsense. And you know it's nonsense because you've known him at least for 4 years, lived there sometimes, lived home sometimes, but now all of a sudden you want me to resurrect things that have been in his house for 4 years? Come on, Miss Lopez. Why would you think that a court is going to waste their time with that?
It's not that, Judge. I got tired of Leonard. He started beating me up for 2.5 years ago.
Boy.
And
then if he started to beat you up...
Because he's slick, Your Honor.
Just a second. If you got rid of him romantically 2 years ago and any man put his hands on me, I wouldn't be their friend for 2 years. I certainly wouldn't bring them my porcelain dolls. What are you doing with a porcelain doll?
First of all, it's not her porcelain doll. I've been involved in collecting Coca-Colas for many years. In my previous marriage that I've had, I had a whole kitchen full of Coca-Cola stuff. And
listen to me carefully, sir. And don't try to charm me. It will be impossible for you. Do you understand?
Absolutely.
You've been collecting Coca-Cola memorabilia, right?
That's correct.
At a time when you were involved in a relationship, she purchased some Coca-Cola memorabilia.
As a gift.
I didn't ask you that question. That answer required an either yes or a no.
Yes.
And she purchased, among other things, a porcelain doll. Is that right?
That's the only Coca-Cola thing she purchased.
I didn't ask you for anything. What did she say when she put the porcelain doll in the house?
Look what I got you. Because, I mean, I had seen this as an advertisement, and she had turned around and told me, you know, she just kept it quiet from there. But then after when she did get it, she in turn had, brought it to me as a gift. Knowing that I collect Coca-Cola stuff,
I believe that that's probably true. What else is at the house?
My mountain bike.
Mountain bike. You don't collect mountain bikes,
No,
do you?
that I don't collect.
Where's her mountain bike?
Her mountain bike is there. She has ample time to collect it.
Just a second. It's there.
Yes, it's there.
So you have no problem with her picking it up?
I've never had a problem with her picking it up.
Very good. Mountain bike.
She never came by at all.
But now she wants a mountain bike.
Why? Because of the fact that, I'm dating somebody new.
Perfect.
But see, I had no problem with
just
her.
a second, but it's a mountain bike. It's there. It's her mountain bike. What
Exactly.
else? We get her
My tent.
tent.
My tent and sleeping bag. They
You
remind
mean
me
outdoors? Outdoors.
Right.
Is that
And
hers? Is that
a
there?
nice chest.
That's there. It's all sitting right there in a pile waiting for her.
Sleeping bag. What else?
My crystal candle holders.
Crystal candle holders. Are they there?
I'd have to look for them.
Fine. Look for them.
But see, I can't be positive, though. She
If
might have
they're
taken
there,
this stuff.
She's at this point, she's sort of stretching it. What else, Miss Lopez?
Clothing.
What?
Clothing. I have pictures of...
I'm not bothering with your clothing. Understand that. Whatever clothing you left there, I will have to assume that you don't want anymore.
I want him. Your Honor, I can't go to his house. He calls the sheriff's on me for trespassing.
You have any of her clothes at your house?
I have none of her clothes.
Oh, Leonard, you're such a
Just a minute. Do you have any of her clothes
I
at
have
your
none
house?
of her clothes.
Fine. Forget it. Mountain bike, tent, sleeping bag, maybe crystal candle holders. What else?
My camcorder tripod.
I have no idea where that thing's at.
That's in the back room, Leonard, in the bedroom.
Shh. Camcorder tripod. Do you have it?
I have no idea.
You have no idea. If you have it, you give it to her. What else?
Dishes. We were planning on moving in together, Your Honor.
Miss Lopez, I want you to forget it. You had an old relationship with him. You continued to be friends. If you left stuff in his house for years, don't expect to come into court and have a judge go over cups and saucers and teaspoons that you want back.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lisa Lopez and her ex-boyfriend Leonard Martinez are suing each other for the return of their personal belongings.
Now, what stuff, Mr. Martinez, do you claim in your countersuit that she has of yours, sir?
My Coca-Cola cooler.
The Coca-Cola cooler?
You know what? As petty as it may seem to you, Coca-Cola items are, they're priceless and they're worth a lot of money.
Very good. Consider it a gift, sir. Consider it you made her a gift in exchange for the crystal doll she bought you. What's next?
Okay, so be it.
What's next?
All the stuff that she has are collectibles. Monopoly games, they're collectibles.
Just a second.
They're worth money.
What are they doing at her house?
The same thing. We purchased them, I purchased them. She, purchased them only because of the mere fact that I was so involved in, I collect a lot of things. I'm a collector, okay? And things of value. Now, I purchased some of these, games, and it just so happened that she had them. She well, okay, I'll hang on to them. Okay, so be it. Thinking that thinking that I'm going to get them back.
You don't expect me to go into Monopoly games, do you?
Well, like I said.
What else?
Videotapes. The only reason why the videotapes are important to me is because they have to do with me and my kids. Do you
have any videotapes of the defendant and his children?
No.
What's next?
CDs.
She doesn't have any. CDs.
Yeah.
Start humming.
Like
what
I
else?
said, that's it,
Good. So we've taken care of the property. Now let's take care of the harassment. You got 30 seconds. Go.
Okay. There were times where I was at home and she came over and she was parked around the corner. I have a witness here, my girlfriend. She was sitting in the dark and we left and she went chasing us down the street. I mean, all the way to the movie theater.
Yes.
I mean, that.
Were you scared?
Was I scared? Yeah, because she could have ran us off the road.
What else?
Okay, there was times at work, time lost at work. She would come to my work, not once, not twice. She would literally stand there and just, totally just harassing me.
What would she do? According to you, she just stood there with her arms folded like this.
I couldn't work.
You couldn't work. Toughen up. What's next?
How do you figure it's toughen up? I mean, I'm being over here traumatized.
Listen to me. If someone is harassing you, what you do is you get a restraining order against that person. Do you understand?
I've dealt with a lot of
Did
her
you try to get a restraining order against her?
Why would I want to do something? I was trying to be her friend, okay?
Fine. Then why would you want to sue her?
The only reason why I'm doing this, basically, okay, yeah, if I get any money from this, I'm going to use it to get a restraining order. Not by choice. It's because, I don't trust her. I don't trust her. I don't trust her family. When she started, we had to change our phone number because of the fact that her brother kept calling us, over and over. She called my mom's house, started harassing my mom.
Call the police. Get a restraining order. Do you understand?
I understand.
Money won't make you feel any better, Mr. Martinez. Miss Lopez, I'm going to prepare an order indicating that you, in the company of a marshal, may retrieve your mountain bike, your tent, your sleeping bag, and if he has it, your crystal candlestick holders. You can do that within 5 days of today's date. Clear?
Clear.
Counterclaim is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I see him as a freeloader, as a person, altogether. He's a leech. He's no good.
She realized she had a good thing. She lost it, and, you know, and now she regrets it.
He was no good. Everybody told me, and stupid me didn't listen.
And now the next case.
All parties on Haas versus Hernandez. Step forward, please.
18-year-old coffee barista Rachel Haas is suing her former roommate, 19-year-old homemaker Patricia Hernandez, for the return of her rent. Patricia is countersuing for property damage and harassment.
Ms. Haas, according to your complaint, you moved in with the defendant as a roommate. You gave her 2 months' rent in advance, $600. She kicked you out after the first month, or within the first month. You want your $300 back.
Yes.
She's counterclaiming. She said you destroyed some property in the apartment, and she's counterclaiming for twice as much as your rent, right?
Right.
All right. Did you have an apartment or a house?
It's a house.
And you were renting a room?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When did you move in?
I moved in December 19th.
And when did you move out?
January 21st was the night that I got kicked out.
That's a lie, Your Honor.
What day did she leave?
She left January 23rd.
Is there any report, any police report, anything else that can show me the
No.
date?
No.
So it's either the 21st or the 23rd. Did you pay for the entire month of December?
When I moved in December, I paid a whole month's rent at the middle of the month.
Is that right?
No. She moved in November. She lived there for 3 months.
That's not correct, ma'am.
Did you pay by check or cash?
I paid cash. 2 months. Rent.
You have a receipt?
No, I don't. I gave it to her in cash because she wanted to get a money order.
That doesn't
and put
make
it all
any
together.
difference whether you gave her it cash or whether you gave her a check. You get a receipt for rent. Who are you?
I'm her father.
Step up, please. Do you remember on what date your daughter moved out of your house?
Yes, ma'am. It was near Christmas. I moved her out.
And did you move her in someplace?
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you move her in?
Into her house.
How did you know it was near Christmas?
Because we had given her a TV for Christmas, and I helped move that into her new place.
You got a call from your daughter to
Yes,
come and
ma'am.
get her? Tell me about that.
We attempted to remove her belongings from the home, but the defendant was at work and we couldn't get into the house, so we had to wait for, I think, a period of 24 hours before we were able to get back in and get her stuff moved.
Why couldn't you get into the house?
My daughter never was given a key to the house.
Why is that?
I had asked her for a key when I first moved in, and she said that it wasn't necessary because she still didn't have a job, and she was always going to be home. I got off work usually about 3, 4 in the afternoon, and so...
Okay. Have a seat, sir. Tell me about your lockout.
Well, when I got kicked out, it was 4 o'clock in the morning. I left and went back to my friend's house because he was there with me, and...
well, tell me about it. What happened?
Oh, I came home that night about 4 o'clock in the morning. They locked me out of the house. I was standing outside of the house pounding on both doors, and I woke her up, crawling
Yes.
through the doggy door. And
Okay, so now you're inside
Yes.
your room. How did you get kicked out?
I didn't want to go outside to smoke a cigarette because they were already very mad at me for waking them up coming home so late. And I had smoked a cigarette in my room. After I smoked the cigarette, her boyfriend had came and knocked on the door and said, "I can smell the smoke." I said, "Okay, let's talk about it in the morning, please. You guys are angry at me for waking you up." She went next door and got her mom. Her mom came over, knocked on my door, and said, "Do we need help leaving?" She yelled at me and said a lot of things to me and then told me to leave.
And you left?
Yes.
Does your mother live on the same property that you do?
No, she lives next door. And Rachel did not say the whole story. She's leaving a lot out.
Go ahead.
I had rules about what time to be home because I had, at the time, a 7-month-old baby. So I told her if she wasn't home before 2, the doors would be locked because there's a bar right around the block, and we had problems with people stealing our stuff. And so Rachel knew that, and she knew the unit was a no-smoking unit, my rule or the landlord's rule. That night, she came home about 4:15 in the morning, broke through the doggy door, We didn't hear any knocking, and we were sleeping in the living room, so we would have heard it. She just went into the docky door, brought a mail into my home, which was an every night occurrence, woke everyone up. So then she went to her room, and we tried to go back to sleep, and we woke up to her having sex with this male in the house. So we were a little irritated by that. We tried to go back to sleep, and then all of a sudden I smell cigarette smoke. So then I called my mom, and she came over just to have him leave, and Rachel started yelling at my mom, and my mom asked her to go outside and talk to her. So then they talked outside, and Rachel proceeded to yell at my mom, so my mom asked her to leave.
Fine. You have to give her back a month's rent. A, somebody's living in your place, you're supposed to give them a key. You didn't give her any notice, so you have to give her back a month's rent, period. There's no question in my mind about that.
So then I should owe her 8 days of rent because there was only 8 days of the month left.
No, I find that she did move in on December 19th. I don't believe you that she was there for 3 months. Her father says, and I believe her father, that she moved in around Christmas time. You've got to give her money back. Now let's talk about these damages you're talking about. Go ahead.
There was holes and chips left in the paint and makeup all over the wall.
Well, she should have fixed that before she moved out.
And she didn't.
Because you threw her out. You both made a bad choice.
Can I please speak, Your Honor?
Sure.
The danger that me and my son were in was Rachel coming home every night with different guys, bringing drugs and alcohol into my home.
How old is your
He
child?
is 8 months old.
Your 8-month-old child really doesn't know whether she's coming into the house with a different boyfriend every night. Listen to me, Miss Hernandez. This roommate you weren't happy with.
She was caught smoking pot on my porches. She is an underage drinker, and for her to bring that in my home, I could have had my son taken from me.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda. Give her notice. And if you don't want to give her notice, what you do is you give her her rent back, which is what precipitated this whole thing from the beginning. So you get your month's rent back, and this is the marks on the wall, stains on the wall. Freshen it up.
उछल छलांग लगाओ ऐसे ऐसे कर छलांग लगाओ दुम 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 ऐसे ऐसे चलो करो ऐसे बाबा को देखो ऐसे ऐसे
जो कुछ मर्जी करता जा तू Doğan'ı ओए जवान नहीं
नो
पीछे कर जवान ओए
देख ऐसे एक्शन मार रहा है मैं बोल रहा सुन के अनसुना कर रहा
वही ना
खबीस बहुत ही बाबा बुला रहे कानी अक्खा करके वेख लेना